In a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. George Orwell. Yeah. This is Blood Politics. The only podcast where we don't talk about politics. We be about politics. And our mission statement is to empower, educate, and encourage everyone to speak out against fascism, speak out against injustice, and fight for freedom and equality for everyone. This is Blood Politics. And we ain't stopping till they put us in the grave. We ain't gonna be quiet. And we ain't gonna be scared. And we ain't gonna go along with the crowd. This is Blood Politics. And it ain't about left or right. It ain't about Dem or Republican. It's about right and wrong. It's about us versus them. This is Blood Politics. And we gonna do what we gotta do. Because ain't nobody else.
Let's get into it. We got kind of a hectic, chaotic, discombobulated show for you today. I got my bat out because I am ready to do the difficult deeds, the dirty work that everybody online should be willing to do right now. But I should put it down before I end up hurting myself. But I appreciate you guys for joining me once again. Thank you so much to everybody in the chat. I saw Greg saying he ordered his LG shirt. That's fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic. I appreciate you, Greg, and everybody else in the chat. What do you say we just bring you guys on screen for a little bit of airtime? Like I said, you guys make this show grow, make it go, so you guys deserve the screen time just as much as I do. What's going on, Jupiter Judy, Jimmy Two Soups? What's up, Just Julie? Holy geez, we got a bunch of J's. Jupiter Judy, Just Julie, Jimmy Two Soups, huh? We're Jaying it up in there. Well, speaking of J's, if you got one, light it up, right? You might as well. What's going on, Flipper? What's up, Dame? What's up, El Rondo? Hey, Roxanne, how are you? What's up, Nurse? Nurse M65, good to see you. What's up, Laser Swords? Hey, Jackie. Appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit that like button on the way in. Much, much appreciated. Uh-oh, what happened? Am I down? Am I back? Am I down? Sorry, I froze for a second there. But yeah, thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Laurie. Thank you, Robin. What's up, 9 Inch Nails? What's happening, my brother? What's going on? What's up, Oliver Brown? What's going on? Let's go. Let's go. Hit that like button on the way in. Like I said, we got kind of a random discombobulated, going to be touching base on a bunch of different stories and articles and headlines. Got a bunch of videos pulled up. We'll be talking about how yesterday didn't even last 24 hours. We talked about Bill Cassidy stepping up to Donald Trump. Well, he and Rand Paul apparently are the two biggest bitches in Congress, because the Republicans have caved to Donald Trump on the war powers vote, basically went back and switched their votes, changed their votes to appease Donald Trump because of the yelling and screaming match that apparently they had, and Donald Trump's threats about the housing bill, and then obviously talking about the SAVE Act. So we'll be talking about that. We got Jen and Pumps reacting to Trump speaking at the American State Fair that he was speaking at. So they rip into him pretty good as far as that's concerned. We also have James O'Brien on LBC reacts to a little clip of Donald Trump speaking about Andy Burnham, who is going to be taking over for Keir Starmer over there as Prime Minister for the UK. So I just want to see what James O'Brien has. And then we have an oldie but goodie from James O'Brien, where he's just kind of destroying some British Trump stands, some British Trump and MAGA idiots. And he does a pretty good job. But it's an old compilation, but it's a pretty good compilation. So if we have time, we'll dive into that. I also want to talk about the New York City primaries and how they have Tim Pool's panties in an absolute bunch. So we got a Tim Pool video where he's crying his little eyes out about the NYC primaries. We'll be talking about Russia's push into Konstantinivka and the propaganda surrounding that. So the incredible difference you'll see if we pull up the deep state map compared to the Syriac map. The Syriac map is typically the more Russian-leaning map, typically takes the information and the propaganda from the Russian side and superimposes that, puts it into the map without much of confirmation at all. So we'll take a look at, again, what's really taking place, what we really need to be worried about, and the propaganda surrounding that. Also, Ukraine's ever-expanding drone campaign threatens Russia more and more by the day, not just down in Crimea, not just with the land bridge, but in all aspects. I mean, we've talked about the fuel and gas shortages that are now spreading, so we got videos to kind of corroborate that. I want to talk about the Venezuela and Japan and California earthquakes and the devastation. I think we'll start off with that just to kind of get everybody filled in and up to speed on what took place, and obviously the devastation there. Reminding everybody of Donald Trump sitting there lobbing paper towels or toilet paper, I forget at this point, on to people. So he put out a statement as well. And then we got some recent news from the Strait of Hormuz. Apparently, the IRGC has struck a cargo ship in Omani waters in the Forbidden Passageway. The Omanis are pretty much directing the traffic into the Iranian passage, as it were, so they could, have the control, whether that be through insurance, whether that be through fees after 30 or 60 days. So we'll be taking a look at that right after we take a look at the earthquakes and the obvious footage and devastation coming from that as well. But lots to get into today. I appreciate you for joining me. Today is Thursday, to the best of my knowledge, the 25th of June. I'm Brian. This is Blunt Politics. If you could hit that like button, if you could subscribe to that channel, if you could do just like Greg did and order your Algae t-shirt from BostonBrian.com, the Blunt Politics merch shop, that would be fantastic. And once again, a big thank you to the chat, big thank you to the mods, and a big thank you to anybody supporting this show. Multiple ways in which you could do so. Up here in the corner, you could definitely take advantage of the Venmo. It's easily the quickest and easiest way to contribute to the show, fastest way to get that donation to where you want it to go to. Again, if you got 4 quarters, you can scrounge up in those couch cushions of yours, and you can send that in without, again, taking away from any other aspect of your daily life. That would be fantastic, and you can do so using the Venmo. Again, $1 or $2 is all we ask for. Anything above and beyond that is totally up to you guys. If it fits within your financial capabilities and you think we're deserving of more, then absolutely not going to stand in your way. But $1 or $2 from everybody in the chat, everybody that watches this show, would go a long, long way. So thank you guys for that. And then you can head over to patreon.com/BostonBrian. 3 great tiers on there. You got discounts to the merch shop on top of the summer sale that we're doing, again, at Blunt Politics merch shop at bostonbrian.com, or you can sign up for a YouTube membership just underneath me. You can also gift those out to fantastic people in the chat, because we have a bunch of those as well. So big salute to you guys, and I appreciate you. What do you say we dive into a little bit of the nonsense, a little bit of the craziness, as we do? And like I said, I just wanted to kind of get everybody up to speed on these horrendously devastating earthquakes that were felt, like I said, in Venezuela, Japan, California, and I'm sure in several other places. But let me throw this on the screen for you guys. I actually do it like this, and we're just going to go through a little bit of the coverage. This says that Venezuela looked like it was bombed after 2 massive 7.1 and 7.5 magnitude earthquakes. Obviously, it says pray for the people. This is really, really bad. Just in, this says 6. I believe there was 4 to 6. This says 6. 6 powerful earthquakes happened in less than 24 hours. This kind of gives you an indication of where they were felt. The 7.2 and 7.5 in Venezuela. You had in California the 5.6, New Guinea 5.1, Philippines was 4.9, in Japan had another 6.9. So again, a pretty substantial seismic activity there. And again, the footage coming out of this is horrendous, to say the least. Here's this video that was posted just to show you the devastation done to some of the apartment complexes here, and the obvious, reconstruction that's going to have to be seen at a time where, the United States has been playing with not only Venezuela as a whole, but obviously their economy. And like I said, at some point, we'll see if we can get to Donald Trump's True Social post that he put out here, basically just saying how many people have been lost. And, he promises to do everything. He's going to fly right over there and start lobbing paper towels at all the people of Venezuela to help as much as he possibly can. Meanwhile, a lot of people are pointing out hypocritically that he's done more to, again, stop aid for disasters in the United States, right? Block states from getting their disaster relief because he doesn't like the way they vote, or he doesn't like the governor, or he doesn't like the mayor, or he doesn't like one thing or the other, or he's trying to leverage that for something else that he wants voted for, some other piece of his agenda. So the hypocrisy of him denying aid, again, to the people of the United States of America, as he's done time and time again, denying the funding to cancer research for children. I mean, the list goes on as far as shit that he's done, and added to the paper towel tosses that we know he's responsible for, has been responsible for. Yeah, nobody's really trusting in his ability to reach out and extend a lending hand to the people of Venezuela and beyond. But, here's a little bit of this clip here. I mean, you can see it's just complete devastation as far as the buildings are concerned there. Terrible.
Mira los delfines, mira.
mean, that's just.
Y mira cómo se cayeron todas las paredes del frente.
Every single one of those buildings is now junk. Gonna have to be condemned, torn down, built back up. It's amazing how destructive and how powerful these earthquakes were. And I'm not a huge earthquake junkie, but to hear that there was like a foreshock of 7.1 or 7.2, and then the actual earthquake, as they say, or one of the earthquakes was about 7.5. Like, at what point does the foreshock just become another earthquake, right? A foreshock of 7.1 is ridiculous, as far as I've heard, in my days. Like I said, I'm no earthquake junkie. I don't follow it that closely. I've never been in a spot that had a lot of them. But, a 7.1 is for a foreshock seems to be higher than most of the actual earthquakes that I've heard of. I know there's been, a multitude above that, but you hear a lot of 5.6 or 6.1, that type of thing. So to hear a 7.1 foreshock followed by a 7.5, earthquake, as what they call it, is wild. You know what I mean? It's crazy. But every single person that lives in every single one of these buildings, if they were fortunate enough to even make it out of these buildings, is now lost everything, and obviously is now left homeless because of this earthquake. But again, the videos are just pretty much endless as far as this is concerned. Here's a flyby. This is posted by OSINT Defender. Aerial footage filmed from a helicopter early Thursday morning shows the scale and damage caused to the northern Venezuelan coastal cities of Maiquetía and La Guaira, the following yesterday's pair of major earthquakes, which measured in at 7.2 and 7.5 and struck, just to the west of Caracas. Most, if not all, of the multi-story buildings appear to have suffered severe structural damage, with many having collapsed, leaving likely tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people without shelter, food, and water across northern Venezuela. So just to show you the extent of the damages here, we started at the beginning. So like he said, it's pretty much every single multi-story building was affected by this, to a point where it's almost certainly going to have to be condemned. And obviously you can see here the extent and kind of the breadth of the damage and how many people have been affected, how many people have now been kind of displaced from their homes, if in fact, again, they were even lucky enough to make it out of their homes to begin with. But obviously the densely populated areas that we're looking at have been heavily impacted, heavily affected by that. And this is just, like I said, a fraction of some of the coverage. Death toll from Venezuela earthquake now rises to 164, which is, again, it's almost ludicrous. It's almost insane to even come up with the death toll at this point, considering the amount of rubble, the amount of, buildings and things that have collapsed that you have to sift through. Undoubtedly, that death toll is going to rise exponentially. It says here that more than 11,000 people are reported missing, just to give you, an early indication as to some of the numbers and figures that we're looking at. Undoubtedly and unfortunately, some of those 11,000 are going to go and add to that death toll there of 164. So like I said, this early on in this big of a tragedy, this big of a situation, it's almost useless to sit here and speculate or to sit here and say what the death toll is up to at this point, considering what it's likely going to be, when all of the rubble is sifted through. Here's another one, freaking devastation footage of Venezuela after it got absolutely crushed by twin massive earthquakes. The number keeps piling up, with at least 164 dead, nearly 1,000 injured, and over 11,000 missing. More than 100 buildings collapse, with entire high-rise buildings reduced to rubble. Horrific scenes from the sky. It's heartbreaking. Again, like I said, the footage is just never ending as far as this is concerned. Powerful earthquakes have devastated parts of Venezuela. Fears that thousands may be dead. Israel's preparing an aid mission to help those affected by the disaster. Let's see here. As additional imagery becomes available, the magnitude of yesterday's earthquakes in Venezuela is becoming increasingly apparent. New video shows extensive structural damage and the collapse of numerous residential buildings, with the full extent of the destruction still unfolding. So, like I said, definitely, hard to see, hard to look at. Hopefully the death toll there, and the people that are missing get found safe and sound. And again, that death toll doesn't rise any further than it is. But with the levels of destruction, with the levels of devastation there, it's hard to suspect that it's not going to. And this says there was a 5.6 in California, like I said, 7.2 Venezuela, 7.5, 6.9 Japan. The Pacific Ring of Fire is showing significant activity, while earthquakes are common in these regions. Multiple strong quakes in such a short span are drawing global attention. Again, this is just some footage coming from, I believe, I'm not sure what this one is. This is Japan. This is inside Venezuela itself. Jeez.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Wow. Ya, por. Afuera que tenemos. No sale de allá. Hermano, no. Afuera más peligroso, hermano. Por allá. Señores, al puerta 4. Por allá.
So obviously, crazy scenes. What looks to be from the airport. Let me see if there was any more posted by this. Site. This one was, I think, an outside view. Wow. That's crazy. Let's see what this other one is. It's hard to tell if this one's from the Philippines or Japan. I'm not sure. Jesus Christ almighty. Whoa. That's nuts. No fucking thank you. No thanks. Hurricanes and nor'easters and shit. That's enough. We'll take blizzards and all the rest of that, but that's insane. No thanks. But again, like I said, there's just so much video coming out from this, all of the devastation, all of the reporting. So obviously hearts and our minds and thoughts and prayers go out to the people that have been affected by this. And like I said, hopefully the least amount of damage is actually seen there. And let's see, the 10 strongest earthquakes says here 1960, 2004. Let's see here. 2 powerful earthquakes have struck Venezuela, killing here the 10 most powerful. So again, that was just a random little post by them. But like I said, I just wanted to touch base on that. Obviously, a lot of reporting on that, as obviously it should be. But like I said, hopefully it just people are found. Let's just hope that the people are found out of the 11,000 that are now currently missing. And I'm sure that number is likely to grow, that a lot of them are just found and they're at other places, and they did manage to make it out of either the apartment complex or their home or whatever building or office or, place that they were, happened to be at the time that these devastating earthquakes actually struck. So just wanted to make sure that everybody was kind of up to speed and up to date on that reporting. But let's dive into something that we were touching on yesterday, which again, I'm sure this role reversal. Actually, let's do this first because there was a little bit of, like I said, some breaking news coming from the Strait of Hormuz, where reportedly a container ship was hit by a projectile as it was sailing through the quote-unquote forbidden corridor in Omani waters. The IRGC warned this morning about consequences for vessels using the southern corridor, and you can actually see from the trackers and the transponders of the ships going through the strait that the vessels that were actually attempting to make it through this so-called forbidden corridor, the Omani corridor of the Strait of Hormuz, actually had to turn around, were forced to turn around, or they just didn't get through the strait. So basically they're funneling it towards the Iranians, towards the IRGC, either for, like I said, just to show complete control and ownership over it, or at some point, again, to have them utilize their insurances or to have to pay the fees and the tolls, setting this whole thing up, as we've been talking about for quite some time. But this was reported by a bunch of outlets this morning, and it looks to be seen, like, come to fruition right off the bat, because like it says here, Menchosin says a container ship was hit by a projectile as it was sailing through the forbidden corridor of Omani waters. And like I said here, it just kind of gives an indication of some of the ships and their positions. But let's see. I think there was something else here. The fact that he also says the fact that 2 U.S. aircraft carrier fighter jets, drones, early warning aircraft are operating nearly 24/7 and couldn't protect that container ship in Omani waters is a reminder that the U.S. has no control over the strait. It says airspace at 14 hours 10 UTC time of the attack there. So again, if you look up this and you can follow the paths of the ships, there have been a few different ships that have tried to made it through this forbidden corridor, ultimately to turn around and go through either the, what they're calling, I don't know, the Iranian corridor apparently, or they just didn't get through. So again, this was being reported just before I got on live. So just wanted to bring you guys this update showing the still chaotic nature of what we're going through and how this is not set in stone, and that, the Iranians mean business here when it comes to control over the strait. Seems like they mean business with, ownership and, again, trying to charge tolls and fees, whether in conjunction with Oman or just the Iranians here. But it says a cargo vessel has been hit on the starboard side by an unknown projectile, causing damage to the bridge. Master has reported no casualties and no environmental impact. Authorities are investigating. Vessels are advised to transit with caution and report any suspicious activities to UKMTO. But yeah, that was like I said, the latest coming out of that. Here's another one. An Indian-owned oil tanker left the southern corridor to use the Iranian-approved one further north. So you can see how it's kind of turning around. So it would stop going through the Omani one, kind of pivoted and had to go through closer to the Iranian side of the Strait of Hormuz, which is, again, kind of the ships are being funneled that way for a specific reason. Again, as Donald Trump says, that's not going to be a thing. Looks like they're already setting up for it to be a thing. It says Iran and Oman's foreign minister held a phone call. Both statements mentioned temporary 60-day arrangements, probably regarding the southern corridor, that was criticized by the IRGC this morning. Let's see here what it says. It says a telephone call took place this evening between His Excellency Mr. Badir bin Hamad bin Hamud Al Busari, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and His Excellency Dr. Syed Abbas Araghchi, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The call addressed a follow-up to the visit of His Excellency, Speaker of the Iranian Islamic Republic Consultative Assembly, to the Sultanate of Oman, and the understanding reached on a mechanism for joint cooperation to achieve the desired objectives of the U.S.-Iranian Memorandum of Understanding regarding freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz. The two ministers also discussed the relevant temporary arrangements in accordance with the rules and international law and respect for the sovereignty of states. The two ministers expressed their satisfaction with the Iranian delegation's visit to Muscat and the constructive discussions held therein. They emphasized the importance of continuing consultations and following up on issues of common interest through diplomatic channels in order to strengthen ongoing cooperations between the two countries. So again, seems to be this budding partnership here, growing the budding bromance here, and they're kind of joint control over the Strait of Hormuz. Very happy to persist upon, again, after 60 days, starting to charge tolls, charge fees, whatever it may be. Looks like they're intent on doing that. But just like I said, I want to keep everybody up to speed on what's actually going on. Was this the actual transmit that went over? Transiting in the Strait of Hormuz is only possible with SEPA Navy permission on designated routes. If any vessel attempts to transit without our permission with ALS off or outside of our designated route, it is responsible for any consequences. And again, this was reported this morning, and then we're already seeing those consequences take place, apparently, with the reported tanker that was struck on the starboard side here. But I'll just play for you guys this quick clip of the apparent radio transit that went out.
Attention all vessels, attention all vessels, attention all vessels in Persian Gulf and Oman Sea. This is SEPA Navy warning. Transiting in the Strait of Hormuz is only possible with SEPA Navy permission and on designated routes. If any vessel attempts to transit in the strait without our permission or AIS off or outside of the designated route, it's responsible for any consequences of any danger. This is SEPA Navy out.
So that was the radio address that went out. And like I said, just, reported before I got on live that, a vessel, a tanker, was actually struck. So again, just kind of showing the chaotic nature of, this ongoing MOU, the talks, the control over the Strait of Hormuz, in the whole goddamn thing. So, kind of crazy to see that as everybody's talking about peace and how everything is going great. And, it's wild to have to continue to report on this shit. But that's what we're seeing. That's what's taking place. That's where the reports are coming from. So that's what we're talking about. So, all right, let's see if we can dive onto this, because this is what we were covering yesterday as far as Donald Trump. And again, this is as this is as oil prices, going back to this last story real quick, but this is as oil prices are dropping based off of Donald Trump's bullshit, right? So his continued saying that, peace in the Middle East and everything's going fine and we're going to have a deal, this, that, and the other thing. Like, there's more instability now than there was. Like, just think of how high gas prices and oil prices got when, again, Russia decided to invade Ukraine, right? So is there more or less instability in the world, you would say, now than there was then? So do you think that it is more reflective upon the situation, the actual situation we see in the world, or just more about what Donald Trump is saying and trying to, again, get everybody to believe like he's desperate to have the markets go up, he's desperate to have the price of oil go down, the price of gas go down, so that he doesn't continue getting shit for it? So everything that he says is based on that reality, or based on that fact, or that goal that he wants to get, to get done. And it doesn't really make much sense, the way that the experts are looking at it, the way that people are reporting on it. It seems to be, it makes sense for it to be higher, considering there's more instability at this moment in time than there was, again, when we look at when just when Russia invaded Ukraine, because that's still going on at the same time, right? You know what I mean? But let's see if we can take a look at this. Let me throw this on your screen, because this is crazy. This is just the outright cowardice of the Republican Party. And again, my apologies and my fault for, in even a small manner, extending some fucking gratitude or some flowers to Bill Cassidy for at least speaking up and stepping up to Donald Trump around the rest of these sycophantic cowards that he had around him. But that didn't last long, because even Bill Cassidy, who has nothing to fucking lose, lost his primary, right? Nobody likes him anymore. He's already been fucking booted out of the MAGA coalition. He's got one foot out the door already as far as Congress is concerned. But he couldn't stand up to Donald Trump for more than 24 hours. It was probably like 12 hours. I'm not even sure. It wasn't even that long. But we talked about yesterday how Trump was pissed. He went out and he kind of canceled the signing to the housing bill that was already set up. They had the fucking podium set up. They had his little school desk set up where he's going to sign it. They had all the chairs and the flags and the stage and the seats and the media, had everything ready to go. Tiny Dick Johnson was out there, with his pom-poms praising the housing bill and how great this was going to be and what a success it was that we got to do something for the American people. Meanwhile, Donald Trump sat in the Oval Office with a shotgun shooting that shit down simultaneously. And again, we thought it was the SAVE Act that he was trying to leverage the housing bill for, but the reports came out from that luncheon, the meeting, the screaming match, and it sounded like Donald Trump was more upset about the war powers vote and either people not showing up or not voting accordingly, that he kind of spent the majority of the time speaking about. Well, again, apparently that, like we talked about yesterday, that led to a screaming match between him and Senator Bill Cassidy. Bill Cassidy came out of that with bravado and saying that he wasn't going to be pushed around and it was the Irish in me, only apparently to change his mind not long after this, because both Rand Paul and Bill Cassidy have flipped their votes and are now voted to block the Iran war powers resolution after President Trump personally aided the lobbied Republicans today. So this is posted by Midas Touch. It says the Senate has now voted 50-47 to block the Iran war powers resolution after President Trump personally lobbied Republicans today after the resolution previously passed 50-48. Senator Bill Cassidy flipped from supporting the measure to opposing it following a White House briefing, while Senator Rand Paul switched to present, while Trump post following the vote is below. He says, wow, the Senate just changed its vote on Iran from 50-48 to 50-47. Rand Paul and Bill Cassidy changed. Thank you to Leader John Thune, Lindsey Graham, Bernie Moreno, and all. This puts Iran on notice. So, you know what I mean? So these cowardly sons of bitches couldn't last 2 seconds in the face of any pressure or exposure of a fight between them and Donald Trump. Again, even Bill Cassidy, who's got nothing to lose, absolutely nothing to lose. No reason not to continue to push back. No reason not to continue to speak out and say what's actually taking place in reality, because he hasn't done that the entirety of his fucking career, but all of a sudden wants to like dabble in reality now that he's fucking been booted out of the Klan. You know what I mean? But this is, like I said, just kind of the sycophancy that we've seen from the Republicans, Mike Johnson, John Thune, all of them that are just, there to appease, there to do the bidding, and there to help Donald Trump in any way, shape, or form that he needs. And this is what what he needed. He was pissed off that people were trying to say that he didn't have the power to go to war, or it was Congress that ultimately determines what happens with the U.S. military and where and who we go to war with. He didn't like that. So, he utilized his luncheon with the Republicans to kind of guilt them, I guess, or to berate them enough to switching their votes. So, I left a nice, a warm message to Rand Paul and Bill Cassidy on Twitter. I don't think I can show it on YouTube. I might get banned. So, you can tell what the extent of that message was. But just basically calling them what they are, just really, really big cowards. Didn't use that exact terminology. There was some other phrases put in there, but it was along those lines, as you can tell. But let's see if we can jump on to this one as well, because this was Jen and Pumps, and they were just kind of ridiculing, mocking, reacting to Donald Trump speaking at the Great American State Fair, or whatever the hell he ruined. Everything he touches turns to shit, and this was no different. I think even Kash Patel's girlfriend sang the national anthem, but I just want to see if we can skim through a couple parts of this where, again, they're mocking and ridiculing Trump for some of his clownish behavior during this state fair in his speech. So what do you say we dive into just a couple minutes of this? Like I said, not a ton we need to get into. I'll actually just kind of skim through certain pieces of this. And then what else do we got coming up? We got a ton of other clips to get into as well. Like I said, we got James O'Brien on LBC, because Donald Trump had some comments about the UK's politics and what's going on there. So I want to see his reaction. Then, like I said, we have an oldie but goodie from James O'Brien, a compilation of, over the years, him just absolutely dropping the hammer on some of these maggot morons that call into the show. And he just kind of eviscerates them. But like I said, that's only if we leave ourselves enough time. And then we get to go in. I want to tear apart Mark Rutte, the Secretary General of NATO. And then there's a bunch of other things we need to get into. Like I said, it's kind of a discombobulated show. I got a bunch of different random things I wanted to pull apart. So I appreciate you for sticking with me through the craziness. Make sure you hit that like button if you could. Like I said, we're going to take a look at a couple minutes of Jen and Pumps here from the I've Had It podcast. And this is titled "Trump Collapses as Crowds Walk Out on Him at Disastrous State Fair Event." So like I said, I just want to see what else they're calling out here. I appreciate you guys. Hit that like button. My name's Brian. This is Blunt Politics. Let's fucking go.
Donald Trump's white trash 250-year celebration that nobody wants anything to do with happened, this kickoff last night. And here he is on video. Play the clip.
We're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're respected by everybody. Nobody's laughing at us anymore. 2 years ago, they were laughing.
Literally couldn't be more of the opposite, right? There couldn't be more countries laughing at us. There couldn't be more countries that now distrust the United States or blatantly disrespect the United States, and for good fucking reason, right? It's pretty hard for you to come up with a reason to say that they shouldn't do this, considering, again, the use of military force, what's going on with our domestic policy, the way that we're kind of brutalizing and bullying our allies, long-standing, long-term allies, trade partners, all of these things that we could talk about: Greenland, Cuba, Venezuela, the Venezuelan fucking fishing boat strikes, Maduro, the whole 9 yards, right? So to think that people respect us more is ridiculous, okay? That's just an insane person thinking insane shit because he's an insane person. You know what I mean? That's what happens when you decline mentally. You end up saying shit like this and believing that you have the highest poll numbers that you've ever had. Meanwhile, people can't stand you, and it's literally only your MAGA cult base left, and that's gonna be left for you for quite some time, probably until you take your last breath on this planet. But to come out and say that we're more respected and nobody's laughing at us, no, they're laughing more. They're laughing directly at us, and more specifically directly at you and your cabinet for the insane bullshit that you guys are pulling, the insane shit that you say, the insane shit that you post, right? That's what they're laughing at. They know it's also dangerous on the other side, which is why they distrust us. But again, to actually think this is the truth just shows you the mental degradation that Donald Trump's fucking mind is under right now, because you're either the most delusional person on the planet, or your brain has just completely left the chat if you actually do believe that. You know what I mean?
Now we're the most respected anywhere. Think of it, anywhere in the world.
Wonder what that's like. Just every single day you wake up and make your reality and pathologically lie. And you just create you live in a constant gaslighting bubble. I mean, when the facts are dying.
It's the Roy Cohnification of the government, right? This is what Roy Cohn spent years and years and years drilling into Donald Trump, instilling into Donald Trump. Never admit defeat, right? Never admit when you're wrong. If you get beat in a court case, come out and say you won. Come out and say it was corrupt. Come out and say the judge is an asshole. Come out and do anything you possibly can to take the focus off the fact that you just got proven wrong in court, or you just lost this lawsuit, or this article that was written about you was actually true. Whatever it may be, that's what Donald Trump has utilized to get and to kind of wield his power inside of the federal government, is that Roy Cohnification. No, just say anything that you want, do anything that you want. If somebody calls you out, call them corrupt or call them fake news, call them fucking whatever it is, point out that they're black, anything that he could do to kind of discredit the person or the organization or the company that's coming after them, he'll utilize that. So it's the Roy Cohnification of the fucking federal government by Donald Trump. And that's exactly how he's kind of, existed in this space, even before his political days. That's how he kind of thrived in New York City, even with all of the lawsuits, even with all of the fraud, even with all of the con jobs, even with his reputation that everybody knew about him, even with the womanizing and the abuse of the women, all of those things. Like, he managed to kind of skirt it because of the advice that he got from Roy Cohn, who was a sick fucking puppy himself, right? A guy that said he liked to sleep with young boys, but didn't consider himself gay. Like, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but you can go back and take a look at some clips from how disgusting Roy Cohn is. And then you can see clearly why Donald Trump ended up the way that Donald Trump ended up. It's really not a fucking, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Donald Trump really didn't have a father. His father figure was Roy Cohn, right? For a lot of those years, especially in the formative years of Donald Trump's life there. So, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So knowing what we know about Roy Cohn, it's really not surprising to find out all of the shit that we found out and have known for a long time about Donald Trump.
Diametrically opposed to what he said. At 23%, I think they polled 36 nations, had faith in the United States. 23% globally.
Well, and I also think it tells you that he is aware that he is a global laughingstock. He is aware that he has ruined his ability to have diplomacy with NATO and other allies, that he's a terrible wartime leader. I mean, he knows this because he says this out loud, which tells me he knows. He's trying to gaslight people so that they don't know, but he knows how bad.
Do you think he knows?
I really do, because I think he is so insecure.
I think Angie's right? I think he absolutely knows. As much as we know he's demented and delusional and totally fucking lost mind-wise, I think he absolutely does know, because you have to know what bullshit to put out there. You have to know where to gaslight people. And if you don't know what the truth is, it's difficult for you to know what gaslight to put out into the zeitgeist. You know what I mean? If you know people think you're a shit wartime leader, you have to go out there and lie about the military victories, lie about the military achievements, right? If people think you're shit at policy, you have to go out there and lie about the policies that you've passed or the executive orders that you've signed. If people think you're a fucking pedophile, you have to go out there and lie about the Epstein file. So he knows the goddamn truth. He knows that, people and his poll numbers are shit, which is exactly why he has to go out there and say that they're the best ever. So if he didn't know the truth, he didn't know reality, right? He wouldn't be able to figure out the spots he needs to gaslight his fucking moronic, cult members that he's still got under his wing. You know what I mean? So he absolutely does know. The people around him absolutely do know better, do know the truth, can see reality, but they're just so fucking cowardly. They're just so sycophantic that they can't manage to call him out. No different than, again, Hitler, Mao, Stalin, same thing. Like, all of the people that were surrounding those morons knew exactly where they were led to, right? They knew that the war that Hitler was starting with not only the West, but also with Russia was going to be disastrous. Did anybody speak out? I'm sure there was a few, but they got their fucking heads chopped off, which again led everybody to cower, sit there on their hands and not say a goddamn thing and just go along with it until the utter destruction of Germany came about, or, the utter destruction of Japan came about. Like, those things are not much different from the time or the rhetoric or the tactics or the situation that we now see in our federal government. It's not a one-to-one connection. It's not apples to apples, right? But it is very alike.
Such a victim, when he is confronted with reality, has to lash out and lie about it.
And like I said, I'm just going to kind of skim through this a little bit because there was a couple other clips that they pull up from this state fair thing. So I just want to see what else they call out. I think here they're kind of pointing out, the lack of a crowd or people that were, again, leaving early, as we've seen pretty consistently from Donald Trump's rallies and speeches for years now. Remember, what was it? The one on the New Jersey boardwalk? Was it that one where he says he got like, half a million people or some bullshit, over 100,000? Meanwhile, all of the footage that you could find was like people in this like little small confined area, and then people on the ground looking at people walk out as Donald Trump's speaking. You can still hear him in the background, type of thing. Well, let me see. I think that's kind of what they're calling out this next clip.
Speech, because he rambles on so much. Play the clip.
Largest producer of oil and gas on earth, larger than Russia and Saudi Arabia by far combined.
It's like
The fact that
it's like the fucking thought of going to see Donald Trump really fucking impresses these people for some reason. And then when they get there, they're like, oh shit, this sucks. This guy's just fucking, what a low energy Jeb. You know what I mean? Looks like he's about to fall asleep on stage. He's mumbling and stumbling. He's murmuring. Guy doesn't know what he's talking about up there. So what do you say? We go get a bite to eat. That way we can make the train. I don't really want to hear the end of the speech anyway, but it's very similar to that whole New Jersey thing and things that we've seen in other instances in Donald Trump speaking, and people like, yeah, we saw it. We came. We can tell our, moronic fucking racist buddies that we were there. We took a couple pictures, but I'm sure as fuck not staying for the rest of this demented speech. You know what I mean? Oh, hold on. Let me see. I turned it down so I could speak over it.
Arabia by far combined.
the fact that they went is the grosser part.
Yeah, that's
And
always.
then there was this. I think there was towards the end. They talk about Sean Duffy's comments here, what he was having to say about the youth, and I'm not sure if this is the part where he's telling people to have babies even though they can't afford them, along those lines, but something like that.
Duffy. This is just this guy. We haven't browbeat enough, so let's dive into that. Play this clip.
Speaking of families, modern culture has told our young people that they shouldn't look for love. They shouldn't have a family. They shouldn't have kids. Instead, focus on their education, focus on their careers, focus on their bank accounts. Have a free
what a terrible fucking thing that is. What terrible advice that is, to focus on your education, focus on your career, focus on your bank account, so that when you do get into adult life, you can actually almost have a chance kind of maybe to afford some sort of fucking place you can call your own. You know what I mean? God forbid that happens, or God forbid you get into a shitty relationship or a shitty marriage. You get into an abusive relationship, an abusive marriage with a fucking husband or a spouse or whatever it may be, and they, you end up fucking losing everything. Wouldn't it help if you had an education and a career to fall back on, right? I think that's kind of what Jen speaks about. I think she speaks about her previous marriage, how that fell apart, and she was kind of left with nothing, but what saved her was having an education, having a brain, being able to think for herself, having, a career was obviously helpful in continuing to make money so you could live your life. Like, what a horrible thing to be, established, have some fucking money in your bank account before attempting to start a family. So again, they don't have to suck off the fucking teat. Wouldn't this would be what the Republicans say, right? All of a sudden it's have babies where you can't afford them. So again, why? So you can suck off the teat of the federal government like you guys do down in those red states, right? But then they complain about anybody else getting subsidies or, taking advantage of these other agencies and organizations that we have in the federal government to make sure that people can have a home or can get some, some federal aid or whatever it may be that people can utilize. They hate that. But now they're out there espousing that everybody should have a shitload of babies, have more babies than you can afford. But God forbid education, God forbid a career, and God forbid you have a couple fucking bucks in your bank account to actually fall back on or to utilize to actually start a fucking life, which has never been more expensive to do in this country. But, Sean Duffy doesn't recognize that. But, let's go on to the end. I think they talk about Kash Patel's girlfriend was singing the national anthem. So let me we'll end on that note. And I'm sure it's not a good note.
Of course, I'm talking about the girlfriend of Kash Patel, who sang the national anthem last night at the Great State Fair of White Trash America. Play the clip.
What's so proudly we and the twilight's last gleam.
Jeez, I can't tell why nobody knows her name. Like it's hard for me to see why everybody on the planet doesn't know this woman's name based off that incredible talent that she just showed everybody there at the Great State American Fair Trump rally thing that she's at there. But yeah, that is in fact Kash Patel's girlfriend, supposed to be one of the best country singers on the face of the planet. If, in fact, you ask Kash Patel, but again, from a guy that can't see straight, really not going to take much advice from Kash. But yeah, that was Jen and Pumps there, just taking a couple shots at Donald Trump in, his ridiculous little rally that he put on there with the American State Fair. So what do you say we dive into a little bit of James O'Brien reacting to some of Donald Trump's statements about British politics, obviously Keir Starmer resigning and Andy Burnham having to step in there. Let's see if I can pull that up real quick. We'll just take a look at a couple minutes of this. And then, like I said, there was another one here of a compilation of James O'Brien humiliating some Trump voters or some Trump lovers. Obviously, they're from Britain, so they can't be Trump voters. But like I said, we'll kind of save that. And if there's any time left at the end of the show, we can dive into that. But I just wanted to see his reaction to some of Donald Trump's comments here. And again, I think it's about a minute, 2 minutes or something like that. So not very long. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. My name's Brian. This is the Blunt Politics Podcast. Like I said, we just kind of have a discombobulated show going on for us today. We have a lot of random things to pick apart and to call out. So I appreciate you guys, as always, for sticking with me, hitting that like button, subscribing to the channel. Again, this is James O'Brien from LBC, just reacting to some of Donald Trump's comments about Andy Burnham in the UK there.
Just in case you think I'm exaggerating with all
Am I getting his name right? Is it Andy? Why do I feel like I'm getting his name wrong now? I hate when that happens. You feel like it's right, and then all of a sudden you say it a couple times, and you start second guessing yourself. It is Andy, right? Let me know in the chat if I'm wrong. Andy Burnham, right? Correct? I hate saying things multiple times if I'm getting it wrong. But all right, I'll let you guys go.
All these links and the fact that you can trace an awful lot of what is going on in this country in the denial of science back to Donald Trump donors. Here is Donald Trump talking about Andy Burnham yesterday, and well, you can hear it for yourself.
I don't know anything. I see that he was, I guess, the mayor of a town. I hear he's extremely liberal, extremely. So that means he probably won't open up the notes. I gave Keir Starmer some pretty good advice.
So this is, again, right off the bat, Donald Trump trying to pressure the most recent UK prime minister into, again, feeding the oil barons everything that they want. All of the people that have, again, time and time again, filtered money into Donald Trump's coffers, paid for his campaigns, invested in the ballrooms, all of the billionaire class, the 1%ers and the oil conglomerates that are surrounding him, trying to get as rich as they possibly can. That's what Donald Trump, that's who he's trying to serve right here. So he's so obsessed with oil and all this bullshit, still doesn't recognize that the United States itself doesn't produce any oil, right? It's not the United States that produces oil. It's actually Exxon and the rest of these fucking companies that produce the oil, and they see the proceeds, they see the profits after they put it on the world market for everybody to then, you know what I mean? So it's not like the United States, as Donald Trump would believe, or, it's like he likes to say, like, we can just go stick a fucking, a straw into the ground anywhere we want. We can just start, fill up your tank there. You know what I mean? Heat your house. Just go stick a straw anywhere. We make a shitload of the shit. No, it's actually the, again, the big conglomerates, the oil conglomerates that actually make the proceeds, actually make the profits, and actually have that oil. But Donald Trump is so obsessed with all this and making about as much money as he possibly can, not only for him, but for his rich buddies that are surrounding him in this venture, that he's already trying to pressure the UK to, again, start drilling in the North Sea here. So I'll let it go on a little bit.
The North Sea. Go to Aberdeen, which was the hottest city in the whole continent. It was the oil city. It was the oil of Europe, and they closed everything. It was terrible. I saw it before my eyes, and I couldn't believe it. The North Sea is loaded. I have had every oil company come to see me. Sir, could you give us access to the UK? We would do anything to drill in the North Sea.
And there it is right there. There's the quiet part out loud. I mean, the son of a bitch just can't keep his fucking yap shut. He really can't. He was speaking at what was the truck plant that he was speaking at? Was it Mack Trucks? Who, again, he just blurted out in the speech, yeah, they're trying to get 15,000 trucks. They got a fucking contract. The federal government's putting out a contract for 15,000 trucks. And boy, are these fucking Mack CEOs and the representatives desperate to get that contract, which is why they invited me here in the first place. Like, I think things that, like, these CEOs and the people behind the scenes would probably rather not have said out in front of cameras. You know what I mean? Just like, blatantly kissing Trump's ass so they can get this, like, really fairly substantial and huge contract to produce 15,000 trucks for the federal government. Another thing that he says here, you know what I mean? Oh, the oil people, they'd love to get their hands on the UK. They'd love to get their hands on the North Sea. I'm sure they would. Of course they would, because they're fucking rich, greedy pricks. And they know because of their proximity to power, their proximity to you right now, and you being able to wield your fucking power over, different power players in the, in the world on the international stage, that they're going to be able to buddy up to you and make sure that you can put pressure on other countries to let them in to do business so they can profit even more. So that's what he does here. But I think this is called out by James O'Brien pretty well, where it's not so much that the UK doesn't drill in the North Sea. I think he actually corrects him and say it just wasn't being released. Any new permits were being released, if I remember correctly from what he said. But I'll let him call out Trump a little bit here.
Fields in the world.
I mean, the North Sea is open. It's just new licenses that they're not issuing because, as the academic I shared with you at the top of the show has explained in a letter to the Times today, net zero is not an arbitrary slogan. It is dictated.
Hold on, give me a second. For some reason, I was removed on Instagram for some reason. So let me see if I can take that off for a second. Go back, put it back on. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. But now I need a stream key again. God damn it. Instagram is such a pain in my balls. It really is. Give me a second. My apologies, guys. I'll play that. I'll do this in the background. I'll let him play. Can you guys see James O'Brien still? I'll let him play. My bad.
By the laws of physics, the Holt warming, net greenhouse gas emissions must stop. But if you'd taken millions and millions and millions of dollars from fossil fuel companies, as Donald Trump has done, they want something in return. And what they want in return is for you to keep pumping fossil fuels both out of the ground and into the atmosphere. That's what they want. They don't give $14 million to his super PAC because they've just got a bit of money lying around and they found it down the back of the sofa. They don't fund a conference in London.
Sorry about that. Should be back up on Instagram. If anybody went down over there on Instagram, my apologies. Not sure what that was all about. Not sure if that's a meta thing or something that I said thing. But glad to have you back. My apologies.
And that Kemi Badenoch and Nigel Farage are dancing for coins at. Actually, I presume they're doing it for free, to be fair, although with Farage it's always impossible to know, isn't it? You could have been given £5 million to turn up. He's never going to tell you or me. But they're not doing it for fun. It's none of your business, by the way, whether Nigel Farage got paid $5 million to turn up at this thing and speak out against climate change or whatever it is. That's according to him. It's none of your business whatsoever how much money he gets, given by very, very rich people with very, very clear agendas. But they don't do it for fun. They give people like Trump this money so that Trump then goes to bat for them. And on this occasion, they're batting for fossil fuels. And our country has got lots and lots of people in it who, forgive me for being rude, are too stupid to realise what's happening to them. Or too incurious, shall we say.
So it's a clear quid pro quo, right? What we suspected the entire time, right? You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. You invest millions of dollars into the ballroom, and I'll do something for you. You invest millions of dollars into this, and I'll do something for you. You know, you make sure that I can win this state, or you pump out a bunch of votes for me in this state, or a bunch of propaganda for me in this state, and I'll make sure that you get, government contracts. Elon Musk, right? The amount of money that he put into Donald Trump's coffers and his campaigns, and the awards that he got as far as federal contracts in return, right? Access to Doge and how much they were able to steal as far as metadata and information of the American people. So it's a clear, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. You pay for, pay to play, right? That's what it is. You pay, you'll get some play on the back end. That's exactly what's going on. So I just thought it was pretty precisely called out there by James O'Brien as far as why Donald Trump would remark on somebody he doesn't fucking know, but obviously immediately try to pressure them on like oil subsidies and trying to, expand the consuming of oil, right? So again, right in line with what Donald Trump's been doing for quite some time. What do we got? 252. Do I have enough time to do this now? I'll wait. We'll wait on that one. Like I said, if there's enough time, we'll come back to that one. James O'Brien, like I said, does a pretty good job. This is the one I'm talking about here. It's a 18-minute clip of him literally just demolishing and humiliating some Trump voters. But like I said, we can go into a few more of these other stories. I don't want to waste too much time here. There was this one I want to make sure to call out as well, because I've talked about this time and time again on this show, and it may be an unpopular opinion, but I think it's way past time for Mark Rutte to go as far as the NATO Secretary General. I think he is way too willing to kiss Donald Trump's ass. He has totally lost the plot as far as what he needs to do to make sure that Ukraine is supported by NATO and to make sure that Ukraine achieves ultimate victory and to make sure they get the most support. Again, he's not It's ridiculous. It is. And this is time and time again now. We actually gave him the benefit of the doubt for the longest period of time where it was like, in order to get some things done, in order to maintain that civility with the United States, you almost have to play that game. Hal calls it the Macron handshake, where you don't want to have to say or do these things necessarily. But, in order to play the game, in order to not have everything blow up in your face, you got to give him some credit where credit isn't due, or you have to congratulate him where he had no business being congratulated or something. You have to bestow upon him something, some sort of praise or congratulation. But Mark Rutte has taken this to a whole new fucking level, is more than willing to not only bash Europe, but bash NATO to corroborate some of the bullshit things that Donald Trump says. We didn't need NATO, but we're pissed off at them because they didn't help us with this whole Iran fight in the Strait of Hormuz. But we also didn't need them, right? But we also launched 5,000 different planes from different European bases, but the Europeans didn't do anything to help us. But, Mark Rutte, instead of actually calling out the facts of the matter, and he does state the 5,000 planes that were able to take off, but this is just, listen to what he does here. He's trying to play into Donald Trump's hands so much that he makes up these fucking graphs, he makes up these, poster board things, and calls them, Trump this, Trump that. It's to a point now where it's getting fucking, farcical. It really is. It's become a fucking circus of how you can appease Donald Trump and how much you can play the game and try not to piss Donald Trump off. And let me call out a little bit of the bullshit that he said while also agreeing with some of the other bullshit because I don't want to go too far here. But look at this. This is said pretty well here by Rasmus Yarloff, where he says, "It is completely beyond me why someone who has been a prime minister of one of the best countries in the world will sacrifice his dignity. Trump will be gone in 2.5 years, and your memory will be like this for all time. It is not worth it." And this is on the Aaron Rupar post, where he says, "Oh my God, Rutte even brought visual aids to enhance his Trump ass kissing," and he's 100% right. He's 100% right because again, this whole little debacle he had with Trump here was embarrassing, and then this was the most embarrassing portion of this whole thing, which was when Mark Rutte decided to, hop up there and show these little poster boards that he had made for Donald Trump. Let me see if I can throw this on, make it bigger on your screen. Why is everything going slow? Come on, speed up. You want to speed up. You want to speed up. Come on now. Internet issues. We'll get there. We're going to get there. I know we're going to get there. We might not get there, though. All right, here we go. You guys are just not seeing it. Now you're not seeing what I'm seeing. For crying out loud, Internet, do me a favor. Just cooperate for another hour, please. Just another hour. That's all I ask. Just another hour, please. Am I back? Am I good? Anybody? You there? All right, let's see if we can play this clip again. Look at how sycophantic and embarrassing this is. And this takes it way beyond playing the game, right? This is not the Macron handshake. This is well beyond that and trying to appease a psychopath at this point. Check it out.
5,000 US planes taking off from European airbases. So that's about Iran. Now I want to take you, if you stay here, I go over to these boards here, because I want to show you what this president was
just play. What the fuck?
Able to achieve. And I start with this chart. Chart.
Here he goes. The Trump trillion. So he's talking about the investments of, I believe, the European Union and NATO. I'm not sure. I forget now if he's got those two side by side. But again, not recognizing that it's the unwillingness of Donald Trump to put pressure on Vladimir Putin, to allow Vladimir Putin to continue his fucking, brutal campaign, his brutal invasion of Ukraine, that has made, NATO and the European allies forced to spend more money on their defense, right? It says, fix the tab slowing your browser. Was it this one? I'm out of it. I'm backing out of that one. I'm out. I'm out. I closed what they said was harming the stream there. So hopefully it does a little bit better. So my apologies on there. But yeah, you can see here, the other one is the Trump 47 effect. This one is the Trump trillion. It's just fucking embarrassing. It really is to on so many different levels to have to, to placate and to appease and to be like, oh my goodness, you're the main reason that, we have had to expend more money in defense than at any other time, right? You know what I mean? It's only because of the Russian threat posed to Europe, right? The threat that NATO was actually formed to defend against that has made the increase in defense spending, right? The increase in aid sent to Ukraine necessary to begin with. So again, this whole thing is ass backwards. To credit Donald Trump for this is ridiculous. And then again, to make him his own little poster board saying the Trump this and the Trump that really made me sick to my fucking stomach. But let me see. I'm going to close a few more of these windows out just in case this is having an effect on the old streamage. Take away that one. We'll take away this one. All right, we should be back to somewhat normal now. We should be back to somewhat normal. Like I said, I had a ton of shit pulled up, so I was probably overstressing the computer. But this is also something that we brought up yesterday. So let me bring this up on your screen here, because we called this asshole out yesterday when he was on with Sean Hannity, but I didn't let it play enough to get to this point. So I just wanted to make sure to reiterate to play this segment of the interview he had with Sean Hannity, which again details what people think, what they attest to be in American. You know, you're not patriotic. Again, if you don't like the genocide that Israel is committing, you don't like, again, the atrocities that they've committed, you don't like the babies they've killed, you don't like, you know, any of the rapes and the abuses to the prisoners that they have. Like, and if you have a problem with any of those things, you're not, apparently not an American, which is what John Fetterman, Demented Fetterman here, is trying to get across. He actually says, if you have contempt for Israel, you are anti-American. So basically, if you have things that you want to call Israel out for, that no longer makes you an American. So how the fuck, again, please riddle me this, how the fuck can you be against another country for whatever fucking reason and that make you anti-American? Okay? Please, especially one engaged in what this country is engaged in currently and has been for generations at this point, right? How is that? How does that make it remotely possible for you not to be an American? You're not a patriotic American if you, again, don't support genocide, if you don't support, John Fetterman's fucking silver pager that he got from Benjamin Netanyahu. But this is, again, just a quick clip, 47 seconds here, of this question being posed. And this is a question and a statement posed and said by not only Fetterman here, by a multitude of different politicians where, again, they're trying to, handcuff you into supporting Israel by shaming you and saying that you're no longer, a patriotic American. You're no longer an America-loving person if, again, you don't fully support Israel in their genocide and their expansional push that they have into, again, territories that are surrounding them. So, again, here's Fetterman.
All right, let me ask this. Why the deep hatred for Israel? Why?
Yeah, because I mean, if you have such contempt for,
and imagine at this point in time being dumb enough, or again deluded enough, delusional enough, or just again propagandized enough to be asking that question. Gee, I'm shocked as to why the level of support has drastically dropped for Israel in the last year, in the past years. Like I don't know. Is there like a major thing that we could point out, or several major things that we could point out, which would give people cause for concern, to say the fucking least? You know what I mean? Anything that you could think of, Sean Hannity, where you could just not in your right mind, even for a moment, come to a conclusion why anybody would be so against what the government is Israel is now perpetrating and has been perpetrating for quite some time. Like, imagine in 2026 still being that fucking stupid and blockheaded.
Israel. I mean, of course, you're also anti-American. And you're anti-Western civilization.
Yeah, you're anti-Western civilians. Apparently, if you're anti-Israel, you're anti-Israeli government and what they've been again doing. Then somehow you're an anti-American. You're unpatriotic. Somehow, again, being against another country makes you not an American or not patriotic. I'm still curious how that fucking works. But again, hearing this from especially somebody like John Fetterman just really fucking raises the blood pressure. And then the stupidity of Sean Hannity to ask the question like, oh, Jesus Christ, I can't for a second think of what could be possibly going on. Like why people would be pissed at the IDF in Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu and Bezalel Smotrich and Itamar Ben-Gvir. Like, I can't think of one statement of them saying that, like, people should burn and Lebanese mothers should weep that I can think of to give people a reason to be pissed off, a reason to want to stop every fucking penny of aid and weapons that are being sent to that country. I don't know. It's, one of these days, I'm sure it'll land in my lap, but right now I just can't put a finger on why that would be taking place. Forget about Lebanon, forget about Gaza, forget about the West Bank, forget about the history of it all, just forget everything, I guess.
I mean, if you have such contempt for Israel, I mean, of course, you're also anti-American and you're anti-Western civilization, and you're, seeing anti-capitalism and the American way of life. I mean,
You're anti-capitalism and the American way of life. So you're against the American way of life if you're against genocide, right? If you're against ethnic cleansing, if you're against children being shot and killed and starved, right? If you're against, expansionism into territories that are not yours, against international law, right? If you're against war crimes, apparently you're anti-American. You're not a true capitalist, apparently, if you don't like and enjoy sending bombs and money into a country that has absolutely no benefit to us whatsoever. Okay, that apparently makes you anti-American nowadays to people like demented John Fetterman here, and obviously, a multitude of Republicans that feel the same way that John Fetterman does. But again, there's only so much John Fetterman that we could sift through and deal with on a certain day, on a daily basis there, and that kind of takes us to our limit. Again, the blood pressure will rise pretty dramatically if you continue listening to that demented ape. But all right, let's see if we can dive into a little bit of the bullshit coming from Tim Pool here, because boy, oh boy, is his panties in a bunch. He sees what happened in the NYC elections, and he is scared shitless, ladies and gentlemen, and I love it, okay? And I just want to see here, like, what's coming from Tim Pool, what his reactions are, what he's feeling, and again, what bullshit he's trying to espouse as far as what this means. You can already see that he says on the screen, communists win elections in New York City, which is, again, coming from somebody that probably couldn't define what a communist is accurately, is quite hilarious. But let's just see if we can dump into a little bit of Dim Fool here, our buddy Tim Pool, as he gets his panties in such a bunch, it's actually causing whatever is left of his hair to fall out even more. So let's see if what he's got to say here. I appreciate you guys. Hit that like button. My name is Brian. This is the Blunt Politics Podcast, and I really, really do appreciate you guys and the support. We're on our way to 25,000 subscribers here. It's a slow roll. It's a long haul. But again, with every single person that comes in, if you enjoy the chat, if you enjoy what you're hearing, if you enjoy what you're seeing, please think about liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. All those things are free to do, will not cost you a dime. Same thing over on Twitch. If you got Amazon Prime, you can subscribe to Blunt Politics here without it costing a single dime, which is pretty good to be able to utilize. And again, you can sign up for YouTube memberships. Head over to patreon.com. Get some fantastic merch like these hats over at bostonbrian.com and the Blunt Politics link there that we got for the merch. Some sales going on right now, so don't miss out on that. All right, let's dive into a little bit of Dim Fool's bullshittery here and see what we can call out. I appreciate you guys.
And now we're already seeing the aftermath of the elections in New York, where communists have won congressional seats effectively.
Commie bastards, you commies!
Going into November, yes, they're going to be in Congress. These are individuals who have explicitly stated they want to destroy this country. They want to end.
Is that what they stated? Is that what they said? Makes me surprised that New York City would vote for people that say they want to destroy the country. Can you pull up that quote somewhere? Is that reported in any article? Can you produce that on your show that you have several videos put out a day? No, you couldn't. No researchers could pull that quote up that espousing. Nothing. Okay, just curious, because I just would believe that people would have a hard time voting for anybody that ran on a campaign of destroying the country. Well, Donald Trump ran on that campaign and he got elected, so I guess it's possible.
Western civilization, and now members of the DSA are bragging that they are taking over New York City. They are controlling this territory, and it is expanding. Now, the interesting thing about all this is we didn't see these results in Illinois. If you go back a few months to Illinois primaries, we actually saw most of the far left get crushed. And with the
get crushed. So you're saying there's a difference between Illinois voters and New York City voters, are you? So is that like a huge revelation? Is that something you didn't know before, that Democrats in a place like Mississippi or Alabama or, pick a place in the middle or southern portion of the country are probably going to be a little bit different than the Democrats or anybody else for that matter in, say, New York City, Boston, the Northeast in general? It's different. It's a lot fucking different. The people are not the same. The way of life is not the same. The things that you need to be worried about are not the same. So therefore, you couldn't actually say that, okay, that is going to be affected. What we see here in New York City should be the same thing that we're seeing in Illinois, right? And again, maybe it is a more modern movement. Maybe it is more recent, people in the sentiment of people not putting up with AIPAC funding, not putting up with lies of people saying they're going to do one thing when they get in office, but actually get in office and do, the complete opposite thing and cuddle up right to the fucking establishment, right? So maybe people are actually finding out right now that, the people that are actually going to fight for the people of this country, the people saying that they're actually actually going to fight for the people of this country and not the liars and the fucking con artists and fraudsters, really. So maybe it's just like, people are now waking up, which is great to see, right?
I guess somewhat, I don't know, I don't want to say demise, but the fracturing of the squad. It does look like in some areas the far left is losing, but in other areas they're actually dominating. Now, here's where it gets really funny. A lot of conservatives are pushing this narrative. They genuinely believe these communists who have won in New York City did so with the assistance of migrants. I mean, you take a look at Zoran Mamdani. He ain't from here, right? He's from Uganda. You take a look at Daria Liza. Now, she's from Florida, right?
I'm sorry. Now, when you say with the help of immigrants, you mean like immigrants voting? Are you saying that somehow they managed to get like a conglomerate of immigrants, legal immigrants, to cast votes for these New York City Democratic primary run races? Is that what you're saying? I don't know how, or are you just saying because they're a little bit brown, right? And he's got, an ethnic background. She's got an ethnic background, even though I believe she was born in Florida, as he stated. So again, how he's trying to utilize and instill immigrants into this, I'm not quite sure. Again, this is like, brown skin bad, people of color bad type of thing. And oh boy, if they can speak a different language, if they can write in a different language, if they own a business that has a different language on the window, like they must be the most anti-capitalist, anti-American person you've ever met. Like that's his whole fear campaign now. So basically he's just going to, he's brown. So maybe brown people helped him win. You know what I mean?
She's Haitian, but she converted to Islam. She hates his country. And that's the important thing.
Oh, so born in Florida, converted to Islam. So that means she hates the country. Now, why is that a thing again? Why do you believe that? Somebody that's running for public office, somebody that, obviously the people of New York City loved what she had to say, loved the things that she ran on, loved the things that she espoused, loved the policies that she wanted to put in place. Like, I'm curious where you're getting this. Just because she converted to Islam, why that all of a sudden means that she's got to hate everything about this country.
No, my friends. When you look at polling and voter data,
it's
actually affluent whites who are voting for all of this, and it makes so much.
Not the brown people. So not the scary immigrants, not the scary brown and black people that you were talking about. So white affluent Americans that you say love the policies that they were espousing, love the fact that they're trying to do more for the American working class, right? And not the billionaire Epstein class that everybody has been so focused on feeding the fucking, the wealth in this country to for so long. So, I mean, God forbid, oh, geez, oh, my God, something that's going to be done for the American working class? Well, Tim Pool must mean that involves brown people. That must mean immigrants.
Sense. The other day on Timcast IRL, I had a very fun discussion with Alex Berenson. I recommend you guys watch last night's episode. Basically, 70% me just laying out my views and arguing with him. But, it was one of those episodes. Now, Alex believes that these individuals like Daria Liza, who says she wants to destroy the United States, she should be allowed in Congress. Phil, and everybody else were like, absolutely.
I don't think you would even need to say, I'm pretty sure the United States is doing a pretty good job of destroying itself at this point, right? What we need is a rebuilding. What we need is a resurgence of, again, people that are willing to fight for the American working class, the blue collar class, right? The lower class, the middle class of this country, and not the Epstein fucking class, okay? Not the billionaire class that has been rewarded and afforded everything they possibly have asked for and even more, right? I mean, so again, to think that like it's a bad thing all of a sudden that we're now seeing these races being won by people that are now espousing these things. And obviously in some cases we could call out and disagree and say we don't like that or don't like this or don't agree with that or wish that hadn't been said type of thing. But on an overarching basis, to see that the people are waking up and, as Tim pointed out, more white affluent Americans are looking to see this type of fucking people, these type of people inside of the federal government, inside of office right now, political office, helping them. That's, obviously we're going to take that as a dub, as a victory here.
Absolutely not. You should not. I do not believe you can swear an oath to the Constitution to protect this country if you have previously been organizations in recent history where you're like, we're going to destroy this country, and you still hold those same views. Now, listen, if in your youth you were intemperate and you said stupid things, you get older, you change, and
Tim, how many stupid fucking tweets can we pull up from just last week that you've put out there, right? I don't think you're in any fucking position to criticize anything that anyone said. Weren't you the asshole that said that Donald Trump was going to sweep all 50 states? You know what I mean? Didn't you think you probably should have retired after that one, after that prediction, right? And how that actually went? No? You didn't want to step down after that one. So to see that you're criticizing anybody and what they once espoused or what they once said or what they once tweeted, like sit down and shut the fuck up, right, Rogaine boy? Like, shut up. I'm sick of him already. All right, let's dive on to a little bit of the I'm sick of Tim. He gets me so worked up and pissed off every single time that I fucking watch his clip. It's amazing. He's so arrogantly wrong, right? He's so consistently arrogantly wrong. It's fucking ridiculous. And then to espouse himself or to portray himself as like, this fence sitter. He's just an independent sitting here looking at the left, looking at the right and calling balls and strikes as he sees them. He's not a MAGA, he's not a Republican. He's just an independent sitting there telling you the news as he sees it type of thing. It's just utter nonsensical bullshit. It really is. It really is. All right, let's get into a little bit of the news surrounding Konstantinivka, if I can, if you'll allow me. And thank you again to all of the BB Barnacles that are sticking around to the end of the show. Tough to scrape them barnacles off, as you guys know. So again, we typically go over all of the Ukraine updates, any successful strikes, obviously anything that we need to report as far as going on as on the Russian side as well. We typically devote the last half or the last portion of every single podcast to that. So again, I like to thank, I like to appreciate everybody that sticks around, not only for what we go over as far as domestic policy and things happening domestically in this country, but also, abroad with foreign policy as well in these obviously important issues that we now face and continue to, be involved with fundraisers to try to help. Obviously with Tom and him helping the Misto Dobra in his sunflower t-shirt. We try to support that as much as possible. Obviously with the Help 99, 69 Sniffing Brigade boys and our fundraisers that we've been at for trying to raise money for vehicles. We're still probably a good time to bring this up. We're at 75%, I believe, still here. 119 donations, 15,457 euro raised, damn near $20,000 raised in less than 3 weeks. So again, a big round of applause. A huge thank you to you guys for supporting not only this community, but everything that we're involved in, all of the issues that we're passionate about. Again, if you're new to the channel, we do have a campaign, the Boston Brian Summer of Drones campaign with Help 99. We're going to raise 20,500 euro to help send to the 3rd Operational Battalion, the artillery platoon in the Lipsy direction. And again, we are a substantial way to our goal, 75% of the way, in fact. So again, thank you to everybody that's made this possible, whether you contributed $1 or more, or whether or not you just shared this out on your social medias and told your friends, family, co-workers, whatever it may be. If you know somebody that's passionate about Ukraine, supports Ukraine, and they would be able to get involved in this. And again, it doesn't have to be anything substantial. $5, $10, $1, anything goes to help. So Ben, again, a big thank you to you guys for making this possible. As I always say, it is an honor and a privilege of a lifetime to be able to have and utilize a community, the community that we've built here, to be a part of these different organizations and these different fundraisers that we can hopefully be, and have a huge impact on. So again, I just want to continue to congratulate and thank you guys and appreciate you guys for making this possible. Let's make that final 25% push, please. Let's see if we can finish this off. We're already getting asked for requests on what we want to see put on the side of the vehicle. So I got to come up with like a slogan or a phrase to put on the side of the vehicle. And then, like I said, if we are very fortunate and very lucky, hopefully, if everything lines up and the stars align and it's, even remotely possible, I'd love to be over there in person in Ukraine, handing over this vehicle to the 3rd Operational Battalion. Obviously, that would be an amazing privilege and such an amazing experience to get to see and hear their gratitude and appreciation and what it means for this community to be able to fork up 20,500 euro to raise that much in order to send them a vehicle to be able to save their lives. It's a lot more substantial than just doing it over here and seeing a video get sent back. So I would love to be able to do that on behalf of the Blunt Politics community. And again, like I said, it's only with your help, your donations, and your generosity that we're going to be able to do that, both with subscribing to the channel and also contributing and sharing this fundraiser out. So best patches in the game. I mean, don't get any better than these, for crying out loud. You can't get any better than these. So again, see if you can put in a 1, a 5, a 10, a couple pence, whatever it may be. It all goes to help, and it's all for a very, very good cause. So, all right, let's get into a little bit of Konstantinivka and the propaganda surrounding that, because there is some definite updates to Konstantinivka regarding the Russians, but there is also some serious propaganda. And I'm going to see here, if I'm going to exit out a couple more things, is if I want to pull up the deep state map, I'm sure that's going to be a pretty big draw on what I have pulled up here. So let me Take that. I'll take this as well. Take that and put that one there. Take that one and put that one there. And all right, let's see if we can do that. So that should free up a little bit of space if I want to pull up the map and show us exactly what's going on. Because I'd like to detail the difference between the deep state map, which is, again, a little bit more of, I don't know what you want to call, not a liberal map, but typically more, I don't know, in touch with reality, let's just say, and what they can actually prove and not just what's being reported, as opposed to the Syriac, which is much more likely to take, I don't know, whatever is being posted on Telegram, whatever videos are being put out by the Russians, and actually change the map based on that and not the consequential evidence to confirm whatever they're reporting on. But I just wanted to play this. This is posted by the Kyiv Independent. This was a couple days ago, but this is talking about Konstantinivka and the what is likely to be the encirclement and the obvious kind of relinquishing of control and the retreat that the Ukrainians are now likely trying to get underway. Right, this controlled retreat. A fighting retreat, a battling retreat. I know there's a lot of names for it, but I just want to play this quick video. It says, unless Ukraine can magically move in and clear the Russian breach into Konstantinivka in the very near future, the fate of the battle for the city is likely already decided. So again, living in reality, guys. So we're not here to propagandize you. We're not here to tell you that, the Ukrainians are doing better than they actually are. We're here to tell you the truth. Okay. We're here to tell you what's going on in each aspect of the front lines, what's going on in Crimea, the effects that Russia is seeing, what problems the Ukrainians are facing, and also the successes, obviously, by the Ukrainian military in the Ukrainian side. But we try to report on it all, so you guys can get an accurate representation, an accurate picture of what's going on, and you're not blindsided by again some bullshit where you've been lied to about progress. All of a sudden, you see that's not true. You see the other side flip the script, and then you're like, well, what the fuck happened? How did that happen when you guys just told us this was going on? Well, so we tried to stay in touch with reality here, and I'm happy to see the Kyiv Independent also doing that and kind of speaking in really clear terms about what they're facing. So it says it's likely already decided and will unfold over the rest of the summer and perhaps early autumn. What we are likely to see instead of a clean encirclement are stories of difficult, dangerous withdrawals through contested terrain under a sky saturated with drones, similar to what we saw in Pokrovsk and the Mirnorad half a year earlier. So again, not painting the rosiest of pictures, clearly painting a picture in which the Russians, and it's just kind of a matter of time as far as, again, the Kyiv Independent is concerned. It's pretty much a decided outcome. It's just how long the Ukrainians can hold them off, how many, Russians have to be utilized or, kind of wasted to gain this territory, to fulfill this goal. That's kind of the questions that now we're looking at. Obviously, how many Ukrainians can pull back and utilize what other defensive positions they have going backwards. But let's just see here. This is a clip posted by, like I said, the Kyiv Independent. Just a quick recap, a recounting of what's going on in and around Konstantinivka. And then after this, I just want to show you the discrepancies between, like I said, the two maps, the more Russian-leaning side and the more, fact-based reality map on the deep state side. So again, I just want to play this. This is about 2 minutes and 50 seconds long. Like I said, just kind of a recapping, a general overview of what's taking place and what the Ukrainians are facing in and around Konstantinivka. So what do you say we dive into this one? Slava Ukraini, Heroyam Slava, and a huge thank you to everybody sticking around to the end of the show. Very much appreciate you guys. I know we always lose some. There's always some that drop out, whether, for whatever reason it may be. Again, we're not here to ridicule anybody. You probably have some very good reasons, whether or not you're just not into, military aspects, or again, you have some aversion to war, whatever it may be. I'm all for it, but I really do appreciate the people that stick around and kind of hang with me as we go through all of the details and the updates from the war in Ukraine. So what do you say we get into this Kyiv Independent update and see what's going on in and around Konstantinivka?
Russian forces are now inside Konstantinivka, and the battle for the key city is escalating quickly. Here's what you need to know. For a decade, a chain of industrial cities in Donetsk Oblast has formed the backbone of Ukraine's defense of Donbass: Slavyansk, Kramatorsk, Drushkivka, and Konstantinivka, all connected by a single road. These cities are often called the Fortress Belt, and after 12 years of war, Russia is still nowhere near capturing them, instead hoping the US will pressure Kyiv to hand them over in a peace deal. This year, however, they reached the southernmost city, Konstantinivka, after fierce fighting and very slow advances to its outskirts. Just a few weeks ago, around the same time we made the 10-kilometer hike to the city's edge, Russian troops started breaking into Kostiantynivka in greater numbers. The situation is deteriorating fast, with several hundred Russian troops likely inside the city limits. So what is going on? 5 years into the full-scale war, Russia's offensive tactics are now built around infiltration. That is, small groups, sometimes just 1 or 2 men, sneaking past Ukraine's thin front line, hunkering down in basements and holes, gathering strength and pushing further. In the fields, villages, and tree lines of the battlefield, Ukraine's drone crews are getting very good at spotting and killing every Russian soldier long before they even make it to the zero line. But in cities, with plenty of sources of cover where drones can't reach, it's a different story. We saw this play out late last year in Pokrovsk. First, small breaches, cleared and seemingly controlled, but then a second infiltration, bigger and faster, that turned into an unstoppable overrunning of the city. Ukrainian soldiers in Kostiantynivka, increasingly cut off from rotations and resupplies due to Russian drones, are simply not able to clear the Russians out on their own. With more Russian soldiers seeping into the city than Ukraine can clear, Kostiantynivka is now on the brink. The city that for so long was a frontline hub where journalists would drink coffee with soldiers before an embed is being slowly overrun, though at a very high price for Russia. For soldiers like the ones we saw walking out from positions in the city, everything is now on the line. But what about the rest of the fortress belt? After Kostiantynivka comes Druzhkivka.
So again, we'll go on with Kostiantynivka here because he paints a pretty honest and accurate picture of what the Ukrainians are facing in and around Kostiantynivka. But let me just show you that this hasn't been quick. This hasn't been, a swift action by Russia by any stretch of the imagination. Let me see. Sorry. This is a video post by Preston Stewart, and this was 3 months ago. Let me see if I can throw this on the screen before I choke myself to death. But this is the Russians flooding key routes in eastern Ukraine, and this was as they were approaching. They were attempting to try to cut off the Ukrainians, whether resupply or, again, their ability to counterattack, their attempts to get in, the Russians' attempts to get into Kostiantynivka. So this was 3 months ago. Okay, so just to show you what a slog this has been, and again how slow the movement is, and what the Russians are facing and what they have to go through even to get to the point that we just talked about, the honest opinion, the honest reality-based, fact-based opinion of where Kostiantynivka is at this moment. I just want to just reiterate, and like I said, this is 3 months ago, probably even over 3 months ago because it doesn't update until the next month, so could be even as far as almost 4 months ago that this was taking place. And I just want to play about a minute of this to kind of give you a representation and accurate reminding of how long the Russians have been at this, and then, seeing where we are now, how much they've had to expend, how much they've lost, energy, manpower, resources, all of those things to get to this point. And then we'll go on to the maps of Syriac and Deep State to show you the propaganda and how the discrepancies between the Deep State map and the Syriac map couldn't be any further apart, right? So again, just another minute of this real quick to show you what the Russians were attempting to do. And this was, again, some almost 4 months ago to try to even attempt to get in near Kostiantynivka.
They're key defensive hubs in the east. We also have new Russian nuclear threats that tend to come about when things are not exactly going to plan. Now, starting out, this is footage released by Russia a couple days ago showing a Fab 3000 strike on a Ukrainian dam in Donetsk. Specifically, Deep State said, quote, "The Russians blew up a dam in the area of the populated settlement of Osakove." And turning to a map to show you where this is playing out, we've got Donetsk here being shown in the middle of the map, Sloviansk, Kramatorsk, Pokrovsk. Of course, this is an area of some of the heaviest fighting in Ukraine. Kostiantynivka is where we're going to be looking to start. This is where the bomb was dropped to cut off Ukraine's ability to keep this pocket resupplied.
So again, they blew up that dam, right? So they blew up the dam. Let me see if I can throw myself on the screen real quick. But you can see where they blew up the dam was just on the other side of Kostiantynivka in hopes to, again, inhibit the resupply, inhibit the ability of the Ukrainians they have to counterattack, to get more manpower in there. And this is, look at where the map was. Right. So check out where the map was here. There's still, I'll get out of the way so you can check out. This is, like I said, almost 4 months ago, still not in Ivanopilia, still in not, Pishivka, right here down just near where Preston Stewart's right shoulder is. So that's still contested area. The red is still not been infiltrated up until that point. And you can see, obviously, Kostiantynivka at that point was just being fought over. You could just see, the northeastern portion there of Kostiantynivka kind of being battled over in the gray zone. So this was, like I said, 4 months ago that they blew up the dam, tried to inhibit the Ukrainians' resupply and counterattack the potential. And again, they were just trying to make their way into Kostiantynivka. Konstantinivka, right?
So you'll see here just to the northwest, Osikovi, right here, one of the access points moving into Konstantinivka. The dam that was hit, I believe, was right here. So just to the south of that location. And we've got some footage that will play showing the fallout of that, but that is going to make, according to Ukrainian sources.
So again, I just wanted to kind of reiterate how long of a process this has been. And this wasn't like, an overnight taking of anything. This wasn't an overnight push. This wasn't like, this like overwhelming, act of manpower and armor that just overwhelmed the Ukrainian. No, this has been a long slog, a long fight. They've expended a lot of resources, manpower, the whole 9 yards as far as that is concerned in trying to get to Konstantinivka. And let me throw this on the screen real quick because I just want to show you the brutal difference that the deep state map shows and the Syriac map shows. So this is Konstantinivka. And look at the difference that we were looking at just in the map 4 months ago in that Preston Stewart video. Really not that much difference. Right. So if we zoom in here, still the deep state map shows that the Russians don't even have full control of Ivanopilia. You know what I mean? And they still don't have full control over Plashivka. So how the hell would they have full control over Konstantinivka? And the propagandist on the Russian side are reporting some 80% of Konstantinivka has already been taken over. It is now occupied by the Russians, which I believe is utter bullshit. I know they've been time and time again trying to utilize that, the flag waving process of getting deep into Konstantinivka, getting to a geographically well-known position, followed by a drone. They hold up the fucking flag. A drone captures them, captures the geographical area, gets the coordinates, and then they say that the entire Russian military has made it to that point. Meanwhile, 25 seconds after that picture is taken, those two fucking Russian soldiers are dead. The Ukrainians now have possession of that flag, but that doesn't stop the Russians from trying to, again, push their propaganda of how much territory they've been able to take. So again, this is today, right? 6/25/2026. This is as of today through the deep state map, and you can see here a substantial portion of Konstantinivka doesn't even look like it's being fought over yet, right? And I'm not trying to draw a rosy, look or depiction of what's taking place here, because you can clearly see the problems that Konstantinivka is facing. You can clearly see on three sides how it's looking like it's going to be or could be encircled, right? It is now kind of the Russians are using that pincer movement up there in Stupnoki and obviously down here in Berostok, where they're launching their offensives from. And then obviously they're still pushing in the Ivanopilia direction as well. So kind of three angles, three sides of attack there. So again, not a rosy picture I'm painting by any stretch of the imagination, but look at the difference here. And then let me go here, and hopefully this doesn't shut down the computer. I'll go to the Syriac. I'll go to the Syriac map real quick. Bear with me. Try not to pull that up at the same time. I'll go Syriac real quick. And you can see the huge difference in the amount of territory that it says the Russians have gained and that they control. Not just gained, not that you've been able to see, but that they've been able to take over and occupy. Let me throw this on the screen, just finding the link now. All right, share this tab. Let me get rid of this collapsed legend. So we'll go ahead to Konstantinivka again, right? Where are we? Ba-dum-bum-bum-bum. There's Kryvya. Where the fuck are we? Kramatorsk. Here's Konstantinivka right here. So they basically have the entirety of the city filled in. The entirety of Konstantinivka, right? So never mind Ivanopilia, never mind Plashivka, right? So they have the entirety of Plashivka, the entirety of Ivanopilia, and then the entirety of Konstantinivka, what it looks to be the entirety. They say 80%, but pretty much the entirety of Konstantinivka is what the Syriac map says the Russians now control. So we'll go back and forth, right? I'll just do a little side-by-side comparison. Now we'll go to the deep state map. Here's what the deep state map shows, okay? And I'll center it a little more so you guys can see. Even scroll in a little bit. So you guys should be able to see that. Here's Ivanopilia. Here's Plashivka, right? So still to the deep state map being contested over. A large portion of Ivanopilia and even a portion of Plashivka still being contested. But if you go over to the Syriac map, again, the more Russian favoring of the maps here, it says that those entire, those entire settlements have already been occupied for quite some time. Never mind those, but obviously Konstantinivka, it's showing, is completely occupied by the Russians, which again, I don't think is anywhere remotely near the case. The deep state map has shown itself to be way more accurate, right? Way more representative of what's taking place on the front lines, on the ground. In actuality, than anything the Syriac map has been able to show us. But I just wanted to prove to you that the Russian propaganda is still hard at work here. And again, we've talked about this and how the Russian mill bloggers have said time and time again how this goes to hurt them. It goes to create problems and chaos through the ranks of the military where they think they have achieved a certain point, right? So then they order an attack to go well beyond that point, when in actuality, they haven't even managed to reach that main point, that first objective, right? So then when they fail to reach that and they can't get any further, right, that just goes, they've been slaughtered and they didn't achieve any of the goals. It just goes to like a snowball effect, where if you're lying about where you've been, lying about what you have, then you can't accurately say what you need to get next, type of thing. That makes any sense to you guys. But here is the clear in I don't know, blatant difference. I mean, it's not even remotely close. We'll take one more look at it. Here's the Syriac map, and then here's the deep state map, right? So again, typically the deep state map is right on point, and they typically wait for confirmation. They typically wait for reports. They typically wait for video confirmation, reports from the Ukrainian Defense Forces with, evidence to substantiate their claims and stuff before they go and change the maps. But you can even, why I like the deep state map, you can go and check back on different days, right? So you can utilize the calendar. I'll go back to June, the beginning of June. Let's go to June 3rd, right? Here's June 3rd, and now you can play basically from there to today. So here's the basic changes from June 3rd to today around Konstantinivka as per the deep state map. So I'll hit today, and here's going to be the changes. So you can see those changes in the front lines, not hugely substantial, right? I mean, you can see just to the north of Konstantinivka, this area up in here does definitely see some more Russian forces push into there. That definitely becomes a thicker portion of the pincer. But other than that, really not a whole ton changes, right? A little bit of further push up near Berezovsk. But other than that, not a fucking whole ton. A lot of it, more being contested, but not much more being occupied, not much more being taken over, again, in the entirety of the month of June, basically. So we can dive off of that real quick. I just wanted to impress upon you how much it changes between what you listen to on the Russian side, the Russian mill bloggers, the Russian propagandists, and obviously people that are more in tune with what's actually taking place on the ground. And it's pretty clear to see that the flag raising, objectives and actions that the Russians have been trying to achieve are going to hurt themselves, right? They're kind of tricking their own side into thinking that they're having more success. And then when that success isn't, drawn out on the front line, everybody's up in arms and like, what the fuck happened? You said you had this much territory. You'd already pushed this far. How come you can't push another 500 yards or 500 meters or whatever it may be? You know what I mean? And it's well because they never took that first position in the first place. So, all right, let's dive on here because there was also more going on with the fuel shortages as well. This is just a quick clip that I saw on Instagram detailing more evidence that everybody was talking about in the chat about the ever-increasing problems with fuel and oil. This says that over 700 cars were lined up trying to leave occupied Crimea. So people now, the Russians in Crimea now are starting to recognize how much danger and threat that they're under and that the Ukrainians are not fucking around right now. And if you stick around there, not only the Ukrainians going to keep fucking around, but the Russians are going to keep finding out, right? You know what I mean? So this is the line to get out of Crimea right now based upon the lack of air defenses, the lack of ability that the Russians have to protect its citizens, to protect its military or anybody, now living in the occupied territory of Crimea. So I just want to play this real quick. I think it's a real short clip, just kind of a flyover or a long, kind of a faraway view of the traffic trying to leave Crimea. Craziness. So again, the reality is slowly creeping into the mental state, slowly creeping into the mindset of the Russians in the different occupied areas, especially as we've seen down in Crimea. We've talked about recently, and we'll pull up a clip here of some more strikes from the Ukrainians down inside of Sevastopol, down inside of Crimea in general. So again, the Russians seem to be waking up. They don't like the oil rain that's been coming down. They don't like the fact that they can't utilize the beaches anymore. So again, they're hightailing it and they're getting the fuck out of Crimea because again, this is only going to get worse way before it gets better for anybody in Crimea, and especially the Russian military in Crimea as well. But let's see if I can throw this on the screen and call this asshole out as well. I found this on Twitter. This is RT's own Rick Sanchez, a real piece of shit. And again, anybody that would have their it says now here, Univision, Fox News, now seen on RT. So again, the worst of the worst this guy's associated with. And he's now trying to push this Russian propaganda that, you know, they're fighting the entire world. And it's not just Ukraine that's fighting the Russians. It's, you know, basically the best of the best from all of the militaries all throughout the world that are actually fighting and trying to destroy the Russians for absolutely no reason. And this is a short clip. It's only about 1 minute and 30 seconds long, but I can't let shit like this that I see slide. And I will absolutely call it out every time that I see it, especially with dickheads like Rick Sanchez. So it should be pretty easy to call out, considering this is just like the most baseline, the most fucking, you know, the most general Russian propaganda to be espoused at this point. I'm surprised he doesn't throw in like denazification somewhere in this clip. But what do you say we just call this out together, and then we'll end on, what else do I got for you guys? I got another Preston Stewart video that I played the other day, but we didn't catch the last portion of. And then I have another video from Professor Gerds, which brings up a little bit more of the recent successes that the Ukrainians have been seeing and how they've now put up on a consistent basis about 3 to 4 times the drone and missile activities that the Russians are able to send back, which is obviously a sign of how this war is going. So I appreciate you guys, as always, for sticking with me. Something I'm very passionate about is the support of the Ukrainian military, the Ukrainian people. Having stepped foot in Ukraine myself during this war, physically drove from Warsaw to Lviv, from Lviv to Kyiv, to hand over fire trucks, aid, medical equipment, ambulances to these frontline soldiers, to meet these special forces, to meet the, these incredibly brilliant drone manufacturers. It was really something that was very eye-opening, and it just gives you a huge insight into how meaningful and important this fight is, and how much they need and rely upon, again, all of these different resources, whether that's Preston Stewart and everything he's done, Jake Bro and everything that he's done, everything that we've done here at Blunt Politics. Again, I'm not making it seem like it's more than we've contributed, but again, every contribution helps. And I just want to, touch on a little bit of the end of that video as well. And then, like I said, there was the professor just kind of detailing a little bit more about the recent Ukrainian successes. But let's call out this moron real quick, and then we'll get into those, and I'll let you guys go. Appreciate you guys.
Ukraine, right here in blue. It's a war between just Ukraine and Russia. That's all it is. Bull crap. That's a lie. This is not a war between Russia and Ukraine. Let me show you what this war really is.
Yeah,
by
show us.
Showing you who really is at war with Russia.
Show us,
right
Rick.
Now.
Show
On this
us.
map, as you can see from all of these lines that we.
And again, what's actually ironic as well is the position in Poland. Rzeszów, Poland, as he has on the map. That's exactly where we actually caught the train, or where we got the train to coming out of Ukraine. That's actually where I flew out of Poland, was Rzeszów, where he has kind of pinpointed on the map right now when I was leaving Ukraine.
Together here. You could see lines that are drawn that come from the United States.
And he thinks he's like enlightening everybody that Ukraine has allies. That's what he's doing here. He's basically just letting everybody know that people have been supporting Ukraine, and there are a lot of allies throughout the world for Ukraine. You know what I mean? And he goes on to say that like everybody's sending the best of their best equipment, which is just not true. I mean, we know from, the United States example that we're not sending them the latest and the greatest as far as any of the, the equipment that we're sending, maybe in the, like the missiles and the interceptors and such, but not the Abrams, not in any of the aircraft, not in any of the, other things, the Bradleys and such. So they weren't like the top notch with the top notch optics and the top notch stuff on them. But they were like old equipment that we had stored, but it still absolutely carried potential as far as like war fighting vehicles are concerned. Definitely could help benefit the Ukrainian military substantially, but they weren't the best of the best. They weren't the latest and the greatest by any stretch of the imagination. I'm sure that's exactly to a certain degree what everybody else is kind of utilizing as well. Because at some point you're going to have to think about, the military equipment that is out there from this war. But he continues to say here, like, it's a NATO war. Like everybody is fighting. They're sending troops. They're sending everything, which is clearly not true. There's absolutely troops from all around the world now fighting in the different foreign legions for Ukraine, but they are not directly sent there by their countries, right? They're not representing their country's militaries in a lot of ways. And of course, there's partnerships, there's training missions, there's people working on different pieces pieces of equipment to train on that. Obviously, we had Ukrainians come to the United States to train on a bunch of different things. Like, that's going on. But as far as like, countries' militaries being sent over there to fight for Ukraine, that's not taking place. People within those militaries are taking it upon themselves to go volunteer, absolutely, but definitely not like state-sponsored or state-sanctioned as far as that is concerned. But that's what he's trying to get you to believe here.
States come from the UK, right? Lines that come from Germany.
Yes, ally.
France,
ally.
Canada.
Ally.
All the way up there. Then Denmark, Norway,
Ally.
Finland.
Ally.
Right?
Ally.
These lines lead all the way to one pace.
One pace? One pace or one place? You sure it's one pace? Because I saw you just take 2 paces just to get over to that enormous fucking screen that you're trying to utilize on RT. So you sure it was one pace or one place? Because of that one place that you're speaking about is Russia. Yes, the person that, and the people that enacted the full-scale invasion that actually sent their military into a sovereign nation to attack and try to eliminate that population and to take over the entirety of the country. You're talking about, the allies of Ukraine sending them weapons to try to fight against that? Yes. So I don't know where this, where's the revelation here? Where's the huge breaking news? What's this like? What do you think you're doing in this clip? That's what I want to know. What do you think you're proving?
Place right here. That's southeastern Poland, and that's an airfield.
No, that's not southeastern Poland, you fucking idiot. That's eastern Ukraine, you dickhead. Look at where he's pointing right now. Ukraine's in blue, okay? Ukraine's in blue. I don't think I can zoom in because it's a video. Hold on, let me see if I can zoom in a little more. No, it doesn't let me do it on a video. But he's pointing to basically the northwestern portion of Ukraine right there. He's definitely not pointing to Poland. Poland, Rzeszów is on the far east of Poland. It's basically about as close to the Ukrainian border as you can get in that general vicinity. So he's not even pointing at the correct spot on the map. He's not even pointing to the correct country at this point in time. He's got his finger pointed directly at Ukraine.
And from there, all of that stuff that's being sent from all over the world.
Yeah, that stuff, you mean the aid? You mean the military equipment to help fight against Russia's invasion of Ukraine? Seems like you're ass backwards as far as the way you're reporting on this. Like, how could you be this shocked that Ukraine has allies and those allies are, again, supplying them with military equipment to fight the military that is now invading their territory? You know what I mean? Like, how could you be surprised at that? Like, wow, can you believe this? The allies of this country are actually supporting its ally and continuing to send it military power to fight the invading force. Like, what are we doing here? It's like, yes. Doesn't that make sense? Like, if somebody invaded your home, would you not want your neighbors or any neighbors that actually fucking liked you, Rick, which is probably not many, to assist you in that home invasion? Or, call the police or something? Like, wouldn't you want people to help? I'm kind of curious. I don't know. Unless you're just ready and willing. I mean, I guess if it was like Donald Trump or Vladimir Putin, you'd probably let him do it. But otherwise, I don't know. I think you'd be right on the phone with the cops or hoping that a neighbor did come to your rescue.
Suddenly goes into Ukraine, right?
And he just pointed inside of Russia. What is he doing? He said it goes into Ukraine, right? Look where he points. He points at the biggest country on the planet. I don't think that should be pretty obvious by the map that he has up there that he's pointing to Russia, not Ukraine.
All over the world. Suddenly goes into Ukraine.
That's into Russia. Oh, my God. And in ways, he's not wrong, right? In ways, he's not wrong. Especially recently, we've seen a huge increase in the amount of drones and missiles and everything else that have been shot into Russia. And again, not Donbass, not Luhansk, not Donetsk, not Crimea, into Russian territory itself. So in some ways, he's not wrong. But you would think somebody that has their videos posted to RT would know what Russia is. Jesus Christ. Couldn't get Poland right, didn't get Ukraine right, and didn't get Russia right. All 3 countries that he just brought up in this segment, he misrepresented as far as their geographical fucking position. Oh, these idiots.
Right? This is the hub. That place right there, that's the hub, that airfield that's established by the West, where 90% of the weapons used to try and destroy Russia is flying into. And then from there...
I'm just curious, is there any reason in which you could tell your audience that Ukraine might have the willingness, the necessity to eliminate the Russian military? Is there just like one, I don't know, small thing that we could point back to, really began heavily what people were watching in 2022, but began way before that. Just anything that you could tell your audience. Nothing that you want to fill them in on? Okay.
Here, everybody knows where that is, by the way. I'm not the only one who knows about this. They use trains and they use trucks to, move it in.
Planes, trains, and automobiles, baby.
To Ukraine so that they can...
We call that the John Candy way of fighting a war. Planes, trains, and automobiles.
Be fighting Russia. We're talking about the very best military intel, best equipment, the best weaponry that all these countries these lines represent have to offer. And all of it is being thrown at Russia.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, for good fucking reason. Right. You think one day all of these allies in Ukraine woke up and like, you know what we want? We want all of these surrounding nations to send us all of their used and outdated military equipment that they no longer have or need, or any that they could just, do away with in general. And we'll be happy to at some point, pay them back for that. But, is there any reason? Do you think they just woke up one day and said that they want to start fucking attacking the Russians that are occupying their sovereign nation? You know what I mean? Like the ridiculousness of having this report go down, but not detailing that the full-scale invasion was perpetuated by the Russians and continues, this war continues to be perpetuated by the Russians is crazy. It's fucking wild. You'd have to be, again, an insane person or, love the money that you're getting from the Kremlin a whole hell of a lot in order to try to lie or bullshit the people or make yourself look like an asshole. You just look like an asshole. Like how easy is it to be like, okay, well, they're doing all of that because Russia invaded them. That's it. Done. That whole clip called out. You know what I mean? That whole clip was just called out by that one statement, that one sentence. Yes, Russia invaded them. Okay. They're killing people by the hundreds of thousands. Okay. They're murdering and kidnapping children. Okay. All of those things that we're privy to as far as what the Russians are involved in, the degradation of the entire fucking infrastructure of Eastern Ukraine and what they want to try to do to the rest of the country, right? All of the, war crimes as far as the drones and missiles and bombs dropped on civilian infrastructure, schools, hospitals, ambulances, all of those, not all, everything that we've talked about and seen. You'd have to be an absolute fucking dickhead to like debase yourself to that point. Well, they say we can get into, like I said, we only got a couple more videos to get through. I might go over a couple minutes, but we should be pretty close to on point as far as this is concerned. And this was the later half of the video that we played the other day from Preston Stewart. And this is, again, the video where he's saying that Ukraine just found Russia's weak point. And I just wanted to go into the next couple minutes of this that we didn't get into. And he's kind of detailing, again, how not only accurate, but effective the recent Ukrainian strikes have been and just how many targets they're going after. And that kind of leads us pretty directly into the professor's video showing us just how many more drones and missiles the Ukrainians are able to put into the sky more recently than anything that the Russians are able to do. And that doesn't mean that the Russians aren't able to strike back. That doesn't mean that they don't kind of hold and wait and pause for a period to stockpile whatever missiles that they're able to make that week because, they're kind of going, factory to front line. They're not able to produce them quick enough to have them sitting around in a stockpile. So they're pretty much going from the fucking, from the, what do they call that? What was the fuck? I can't even think of not the conveyor belt. What is it called now? God damn it. The Ford plant. And he made it. Anyway, they go from the plant to the front line. I couldn't think of it. But again, this is Preston Stewart just detailing a little bit more of the targets that they're going after and how effective they are. So we'll see if we can dive into, like I said, a couple minutes of this, and then we'll end on some of the professor's updates, and then I'll get you guys out of here. I very much appreciate you guys.
And we should note that this is
assembly line. Why couldn't I think of that? Now, why is easy shit like that just escaping me? I swear, these lights turn on, the camera turns on, and I immediately forget everything. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know if anybody else can relate to this, but if I'm in the passenger seat sometimes, and this might be reversed, I might have this ass backwards, but a lot of the times if I'm in the passenger seat, I know exactly where the fuck I am. I know where I'm going. I know what turns to make. Sometimes as soon as my ass gets in that driver's seat, it's like, where the fuck am I? You know what I mean? It's like, where I don't remember anything sometimes, and not all the time, but I don't know if anybody had that ever happen to them as well. But yes, that's what I was going for. The assembly line. They're pretty much going from the assembly line right to the front, right to be able to be launched by the Russians because of, the lack of stockpiles, the lack of kind of, the backups that they have. So let's see if, like I said, we can dive into a couple minutes of this. Thank you in the chat. I know, Roxanne. I've never really been good at like the whole Jeopardy coming up with things right on the spot. I know shit, but then I get so like, I don't know, I get so like frazzled that it's like I can't think of it until like 25 minutes later, and I'll blurt it out when it doesn't mean anything anymore. That type of thing. So my apologies. Eventually I will get to the term. Eventually I will remember it. Like yesterday I did remember Irving Fryer, the autograph that I had not for long. I did remember that. Just took me a little bit. Just took me a little bit. You know what I mean? Give me a break. Several concussions, lots of years of getting, smacked in the head through sports will do that to you. So, I feel like I'm doing okay. I was never made to make it this long to begin with, if you ask a lot of my friends. So I feel like I'm already on the winning side, just breathing. You know what I mean? But all right, let's get into a couple minutes of this.
Slowing down. If anything, this middle strike campaign is ramping up. I mean, in just the last 48 hours, every single day, a number of Ukrainian units are releasing footage showing the effects of these middle strikes. This is just a few. From the Ukrainian Unmanned Systems Forces on June 22nd, they hit gas infrastructure in Crimea. They hit 3 different gas compressor stations. In Crimea, they hit oil storage tanks at the Kerch thermal power plant. They also destroyed in Crimea a Pantsir air defense system, an S-300 launcher, a Zu-23 anti-aircraft cannon, as well as a Nebo-U radar system near Kerch. In Kherson, they hit a bridge crossing a strait being used to
just listen to the wide variety of targets. Okay, we've gone from tugboats to ferries to bridge crossings to railway crossings to Pantsir systems to barracks, military barracks themselves. So again, this is not only showing how effective the strikes are, but how many drones the Ukrainians are able to utilize. Right, so they're not being forced to just attack, say, the M14 highway, right, going into Crimea, or the land bridges. Like, they're not just solely focused on that. They're also hitting Sevastopol. They're also hitting, different, like I said, bridges all over the place that they need to hit. Different anti-air defense systems all over the place. So it just shows you not only, again, the advancements in drone technology, but the advancements of numbers of drones that the Ukrainians are able to utilize to their effect is growing by the day. And as Preston said there, it's definitely going to get a lot worse for the Russians before it gets any better, because they don't seem to have an answer. They don't seem to have the air defenses necessary. They don't seem to have the personnel necessary. They don't seem to have the ability to mitigate these damages. Right? They not just talking about Crimea, not just talking about Donetsk or Luhansk. We're talking about inside of Russia itself, Moscow, St. Petersburg, right? Rostov-on-Don, like very prominent places that you would suspect, or the Russian, citizenry would suspect, would be heavily defended, right? Would be near impossible to get a drone or a missile through to attack, say, I don't know, the Moscow oil refinery. You know what I mean? And there's other reports to suggest that that's been knocked out for a quite considerable amount of time as well. I don't know if that's in the professor's video that we have coming up, but let's just see a couple more of these attacks where, Preston just kind of going down the list of all of the targets that the Ukrainians have been successfully striking. And it's wide. It is not just one thing or another. It's not just trains. It's not just bridges. Okay. It's not just air defenses. It's not just, the ferries or the tugboats or the power plants or the oil facility. It's fucking all of them at the same time, which is again what Robert Magyar of the Magyar's Birds has been consistently saying that Russia could look forward to, and it's day by day coming to fruition and expanding in again the efficacy of the Ukrainian drone attacks, missile attacks, and everything else that they're throwing at the Russians as well.
Transport supplies to the front. They hit a tugboat in the harbor being used to move Russian supplies. In Donetsk and Kherson, they hit a heavy tractor, a fuel truck. Luhansk, they hit armored vehicles. I mean, it's nonstop everywhere across the occupied territories is taking significant hits. These are not the armored personnel carriers easily replaced. You're talking about very expensive, very complex air defense systems and logistics. Every one of these logistics vehicles that goes down makes it that much harder to keep the front supplied. To put this simply, this is unsustainable for Russia, and every day that goes by means that they have to dig out of a deeper and deeper hole. And it's pretty crazy right now, you think about it, to see the Russian airspace this permissive to $5,000 drones. But this is what happens after years of meticulous planning and coordinated strike campaigns. We are finally starting to see those results, and it is putting the Russian military in a very difficult situation. Where does the protection go? Who gets the mobile drone teams? Do you move those closer to the front that are coming under the range of short-range Ukrainian strike drones? Do you move them to the middle range, long, huge area having to protect in the southern occupied territories or Crimea? Or do you relocate them back into Moscow, say, to protect the population there, make sure they have gas, they have fuel, and they don't feel the impacts of the war?
It is just endless video coming out of this showing the Ukrainian strikes on different resupply vehicles, again, different air defense systems, and you can go down the list again: tugboats, ferries, bridges, railways, vehicles, armored personnel, the whole 9 yards. And it's just, again, it's an endless feed of this consistently going on. And I just want to go on a little bit. I'm not sure if he details the effects on I think it might be the professor's video. So let me dive into that one real quick here as well, and we'll end on this one. This is Professor, I call him Professor Geertz. I don't know, my apologies if I'm mispronouncing his last name. I don't know if it's Geerdes or Gerds or whatever it is, but he does a pretty good job of the updates here on Ukraine. And he's just kind of talking about the the consistent ability for the Ukrainians to put up more drones and missiles into the sky than the Russians have had lately, which is going to, again, help the destruction that we've seen and been reporting on recently. So, again, just a couple minutes of this, and then I'll get you guys out of here. This is just going on to show just how effective, again, the Ukrainians have been and just how many drones they've been able to put up in the air recently.
It's June 25th, 2026. I want to talk about Crimea and how bad it's getting in Crimea. I keep talking about like they're strangling Crimea. The Ukrainians are doing that. And the Russians had no thought that this could ever happen when this started. But new technology in the form of drones have made this actually possible and even probable. And it's happening. Look at the news. Russia-Ukraine war, Crimea, Sevastopol without power after Ukrainian strikes. Those are drone strikes. Ukrainian war briefing. Crimea locks down as Putin acknowledges huge streams of, Ukraine's drones are spoiling Putin's vision for Crimea. Ukraine says major Crimea bridge destroyed in latest attack, and they're doing these for reasons. Putin's regime may not survive the impending fall of Crimea. Like, Putin never dreamed that he would potentially lose Crimea when this started, but that seems to be what's happening. Yesterday, we saw a temporarily occupied Sevastopol in Crimea was left completely without electricity following a massive overnight attack. That was last night. The day before that, we saw...
Which, again, I'm sure is adding to the chaos, adding to that line that we saw of traffic of people trying to get out of Crimea. Again, the writing is on the wall, right? I think it's pretty clear for everybody to see, what's coming to Crimea, what the Ukrainians have in store for the Russians. Again, not only stationed in Crimea, but any of the Russians trying to resupply Crimea. And again, that's obviously going to have a huge impact and a huge effect on the lives of the Russians now living down there to try to get their fucking beach days in, right?
Special Operations Forces released footage of the strike that destroyed the rail bridge over northern Crimean Canal. And there's one bridge after another to the point where it's getting hard for the locals to get out. Ukraine strikes on Crimean bridges and fuel infrastructure have halted political prisoner transfers from Simferopol for a week. Ukraine is turning the peninsula into an island, and the occupation cannot manage its own logistics anymore. This is, according to Euromaidan Press, this is exactly what the Ukrainians are going.
And I think the next thing that he talks about is the amount of damage done to, I believe, the Moscow oil refinery. So, again, talking about how much that goes to supply not only Moscow, but obviously the military personnel inside of Moscow. It goes to show how much damage and how much, pain this will be, we'll be seeing from that. So let's see if this is the next thing.
For here in Crimea. So yeah, it's happening. Ukraine's Odessa Operation Group said the blue and yellow flag was raised on the Kinburn Spit after Ukrainian fire forced Russian troops to retreat from their positions. So choking out the logistics means they can't actually sustain themselves and defend themselves because they don't have the ammunition and the supplies, the food, whatever else in order to stay in place. And so they are going to have to slowly withdraw. Surviving personnel are now evacuating and abandoning defensive lines. Let's see if this is purely a flag operation or not. But here we see a Ukrainian flag.
And we've talked about and talked to exactly what the Kinburn Spit was down in Crimea there. So let me see. I'll just fast forward a second because I do believe he talks about the effects on the Moscow oil refinery. Unless, like I said, that was a different video that I saw. He said, I watched so much to try to put the show together. I always kind of mix up at some point. But let's see here if we could do this one, because this is the Russian reaction to the crisis down there in Crimea. So let's see if we can throw that on the screen.
Media authorities have imposed official fuel sales.
It says fuel shortages and supply disruptions have spread across 78 Russian regions. Okay. 78 Russian regions, according to Russian media. That's not according to Ukrainian media. That's not according to United States media. That's not according to BBC. That's according to Russian media. 78 different Russian regions are now experiencing fuel shortages and supply disruptions. We've been talking about this pretty consistently for a long time, whether that's, the people that have to fight and search through fucking social media for QR codes to figure out what day they can get gas. Obviously, there's a limit on some places on how much fuel you can get. Obviously, the price of the fuel has gone up dramatically as well. Authorities have imposed official fuel sale restrictions in 29 regions, while only 5 regions have not reported widespread fuel shortages or limits. Reports also indicate gasoline prices are rising across the country as supply pressures intensify. Obviously, supply and demand, something you can go on to expect. But I believe here he has a couple of clips from some Russians that aren't very happy in Crimea. So I'll let him play those, and then I'll get you guys out of here. We'll thank everybody that was nice enough to send in a buck or two via Venmo. That Venmo QR code in the corner, if you take a picture of that, if you have $1 or $2 to spare, and you can send it into the show without taking away from any other aspect of your daily life, without making it so, you're not going to be able to eat lunch or dinner or get some fucking fuel, gas in the tank there for your car. If that can be done and you can send that into the Venmo, please think about doing so. But at the end of every single show, we make sure to thank and congratulate and appreciate everybody that sends in a Venmo, and obviously everybody that sends in a super chat, super sticker, everybody that reaches a milestone over on the Venmo side of the, on the YouTube side of things. So again, anybody that was nice enough to send in a super chat will be right there in a minute to thank everybody. So let's just get into this last clip. And I believe, like I said, he plays a couple videos from some people in Crimea that are not having the best of times.
Restrictions in 29 regions.
I'll go through that. I just read it.
Okay, yeah. So it's pretty widespread. Now, here, a Russian woman thanks her father for teaching her this new valuable skill. What is it? I thought I would never ever need this skill in my life, but the time has simply come. Dad, thanks. Basically, enrollment is open for siphoning petrol. Yeah, siphoning petrol. She's kind of happy that she knows how to siphon.
But how wild is it to make a fucking video saying that, right? Like, how wild is it to put that out there on whatever Russian social media site she put that out on, whether it was Max or Telegram or whatever she's trying to use there? Who would put that out there? Like, it's so bad right now that we're having to siphon fuel and gas from my neighbor's vehicles, right? Because I didn't have any, they don't sell us any, we don't have any to be, there's not any to be purchased anyway, so we're resorting to siphoning fuel. And thank God that my fucking scumbag father, she's saying, thank God my degenerate, probably almost certainly alcoholic father taught me how to steal from my neighbors and siphon off their fucking tanks into my own. Otherwise, I'd be really screwed here in Crimea, right? So that's one indication things aren't going so well. And I think he's got one more here from another person down in Crimea as well.
Gas out of other people's cars. Okay, this woman is in Kerch and she's lamenting the situation that's going on in her hometown, and she's trying to think, should I go to Crimea or not? Listen, my entire hometown, all my relatives, friends, and people close to me are being wiped off the face of the earth. Why is she smiling like that? She's smiling because
she's smiling. Jesus Christ. That's what I was just going to say. She's talking about her friends and family being wiped off the face of the earth, and she's got the biggest shit-eating grin on her face I've ever seen. Like fucking absolute psychopaths, these people. Psychopaths.
It appears that she's a social media something or another. Like she's doing things for her social media channel, and that's why she's the way that she is. And the funniest thing is that no one cares because no one gives a blank. Right now, in my hometown of Kerch, an oil terminal is burning. It was blown up on the morning of June 21st. Video from the evening of June 23rd still hasn't been put out. It's so interesting what you
that was the one I showed you guys earlier that said the oil refinery, the oil depot there in close proximity to the Kerch Bridge was still on fire, in flames, and hadn't been put out there yet. But you can see just a couple instances, a couple examples of people kind of feeling the effects right now of the Ukrainian pinch on Crimea. And like I said, it's only going to get worse. We're only likely to see more and more people start fleeing the area. Those lines and that 700 cars that you saw, what was it, this one? Yeah, this one. I'll throw this back on the screen just in case anybody was just joining us late. But the 700 or so vehicles, as stated here in this post by Meanwhile in Ukraine, I'm going to say could be a lot more than that as this progresses, as the pinch and the fuel shortages, the ammunition, the food, all of that starts to dry up. you're going to start seeing more and more people start fleeing the area, especially as the Kerch Bridge becomes to come into light. That becomes more and more likely to become a target. They're going to be locked in there. You know what I mean? If you can't utilize the bridges to get out of the northern portion of Crimea, and you can't use the Kerch Bridge, and there's no ships coming through the Sea of Azov, and you can't utilize, the Black Sea, you're going to be screwed. You're screwed. So now's the time. Right now is the time. If you are, have friends or family, or if you yourself are on Crimea, you're running out of time very rapidly, and what your options say you can do. That's just why I think your people are recognizing that and starting to be like, yep, I'm out of here. This is going to get a lot worse before it gets better, and I definitely don't want to be here when that happens. But unfortunately, as we typically do every show, we've run out of time. I do appreciate you guys for taking the time out of your busy day, your busy schedules, and all the things that you have going on in your life to spend some time here with me and the chat, the community that we've built here. And not only that, but everybody that supports this channel, whether financially, whether just sharing the program out, whether by liking, sharing, subscribing, getting merch like this hat, mugs, stickers, t-shirts, sweatshirts, the whole 9 yards that we got as the summer sale is rolling at bostonbrian.com. For our Blunt Politics merch shop. Got the link right on there, like I said, at bostonbrian.com. All of our social media links, all of the updates and information pertaining to the Patreon Zooms, which you can get access to yourself. All you got to do is sign up at patreon.com/bostonbrian at one of the 3 great tiers. Again, we have no ad reads. We don't interrupt this show with a bunch of commercials. We don't charge for the Substack. We don't hide anything behind a paywall as far as content. You will never, ever have to come out a red cent out of pocket to watch any of my content. I assure you. Like we said, we try to do things the independent route. We try to make sure that nobody has any control over what I can and cannot say, what I can and cannot talk about, and we'd like to keep it that way. But it's only with your help, you guys boosting us in the algorithm, sharing the show out, subscribing to the channel. If you don't think you're subscribed, if you think you are subscribed but you're not sure, please check. A lot of the times, a lot of people watch, but they're not subscribed. It's usually a substantial portion of the people that watch are not subscribed. I swear it doesn't cost you a cent. I swear it doesn't cost you a cent to share it or like it. So a thumbs up would go a long way. Thank you to everybody on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, and Substack for everything that you guys have done. Please make sure you hit the thumbs up or the like, share the stream, do whatever you need to do on that social media platform that you're watching on. Goes a long way in helping. Check out the Threads, check out the Blue Sky, check out the TikTok, check out the Twitter if you can. Any way that you can boost the engagement would help and would be very much appreciated. All right, let's get into thanking some people on Venmo. Like I say 1,000 times during the show, thank you guys so much for your support. Thank you so much for, again, your generosity in keeping these independent platforms going, where, like I said, there is no outside influence. There is no outside control. Nobody telling us what we can say and what we can't say, and I feel like that's the way to go about things. All right, so, wow, lots of people to thank today. You guys are amazing. Thank you guys so much. Yakov today started off in the right way. Much appreciated, my friend. He says, sorry, I've been in a bad mood lately. Messed up my back and almost had my heart explode. Great show today. And again, if you say sorry one more time, Yakov, I will physically come there and make your heart explode. Okay, because whatever you guys are going through in your personal life is not only completely understood, but I'm right here to help you guys along and to make sure that you guys have everything that you need, all the support that you need, everything that you guys have done for this channel. I promise to be right there for you guys. So absolutely, please don't apologize for messing up your back, and don't apologize for having your heart almost explode. I think we're very understanding here, Yakov. And again, it's probably very understood that you're in a not so great of mood, let's just say, but to come here, not only to show up when you're going through those things, but also to send in a contribution on Venmo, just goes to show you what an outstanding and upstanding citizen you are, and what a great contributor to this community you've been. So much appreciated, Yakov. W's in the chat for Yakov. Next up today is MR. Let's go, MR. Much appreciated. Laughed at your Irish Catholic and Wakes comments last night. I'm telling you. I mean, I've been with a big Irish family and a lot of people around me with big Irish families. I've seen a lot of people die, okay? Unfortunately, I've had friends, family, the whole 9 yards. I've been to probably more wakes and funerals than most people could shake a stick at. So the last time and any time that I've seen a hand look that decrepit again, it was sticking out of a casket. Typically, it wasn't attached to anything that was breathing still. And it had, like, again, the caked up makeup really isn't much of a stretch because that's what he looks like now anyway. But, that hand is definitely telling me that, he's still on this earth now. But like I said, as Irving Fryer once wrote in an autograph as he was about to be traded from the Patriots, not for long, NFL. You know what I mean? So Emma, much appreciated for recognizing that. And again, I put out a couple shorts this morning on Instagram. I put out a couple shorts on YouTube as well. So if you could do, the added bonus, if you could go the extra mile and check out, if you got Instagram, check them out on Instagram. If you got YouTube, check them out on YouTube. But if you could share, comment, all of those things, it would be fantastically appreciated. Thank you so much to Moms. Love and appreciate everything that you do for this channel. She says, keep up the good work and the passion for what you do. Love the show, your presentation, and the chat. What a great place to hang out. Thank you, a.k.a. Married to a Maggot. Well, thank you so much. I apologize. I keep calling you moms. That's my apologies. a.k.a. Married to a Maggot. There's so many. I got so many great Suzannes here that watch. I keep getting you guys all mixed up. But, I'll put you in the loved and appreciated and respected pile at the end of the day anyway. So, a.k.a. Married to a Maggot. Thank you so much in the chat. My apologies for getting these names wrong every so often. But much appreciated for your $25 contribution on Venmo. Goes a long way in keeping this channel running. I know it may not feel like that or seem like that, but it really, really does. Because like I said, if you don't know, if you're new to the channel, I did give up a career, a job as a plumber here in the greater Boston area because, again, I am so passionate about these topics. And I feel like, you could work as hard as you want. You could do everything the right way for your entire life, like a lot of you in the chat have done. And then at the end, you're still going to get screwed. You're still going to get stepped on. You're still going to be trashed and thrashed by the politicians not doing the right thing by you, by the federal government not doing the right thing by you. So if we don't change that, then it really doesn't matter how hard I worked or how lucrative the profession was. It definitely wasn't going to help benefit society, and it would have been selfish to do that myself. So I know it wasn't the best financial decision I've ever made. In fact, it's probably the worst financial decision I've ever made, but I just appreciate you guys that have been with me since the beginning, that have supported me through this journey and made it possible to create this community, even get this far with 20,000 subscribers, on our way to 25,000 subscribers. So again, I am under no illusions of how much weight we have behind our punches now, but I am just so grateful, forever grateful for you guys getting us to this point. So like I said, hopefully at some point, we will make this a profitable venture and we'll be able to do a lot more with this community, a lot more with our platform, but we got to stick it out. We're going to grind it out. Until then, I'm not going anywhere, and hopefully you guys aren't going anywhere anyway. So thank you so much to Suzanne, Married to a Maggot. Thank you so much to Bry Guy as well. Didn't know you were on Thursday. That said, Slava Ukraine, was this a bad code today thinking Trump's done with this? Let me think. Oh, fuck no. Boston Brian makes no fun. Well, thank you, Bry Guy. You always crack me up with your contributions. Thank you so much for the $5. Very much appreciated. And yes, I'm on every single Thursday. So the only days that I don't have a show are going to be Saturday and Monday. The only two shows the only 2 days that I don't have a show. Every single day, I'm either on at 2 p.m. or 1 p.m. Again, if you get confused, you can just head over to bostonbrian.com, and it has the show schedule, the Zoom schedules. That has all the information that you need for all of the things blunt politics related. So again, if you have any questions on when I'm on, that just head over to bostonbrian.com. That'll let you know. Thank you so much to Nancy. Again, everything that you do. She sent me the $10 for the Venmo test. It worked, Nance. Thank you so much. So it seems like you got your router working, and I'm very happy you did that. Thank you so much to Jeff D for the $20 contribution. He says, just a tip, Brian, no tax on tips. This is not financial backing, just a tip from Jen and Roxanne. Thank you so much, Jen and Roxanne. Love and appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for the $20 contribution. And then we keep going. Thank you so much to Donna D, much appreciated for the $4.44. Slava Ukraine, to you, Donna. And then next on the list today is going to be Cynthia. Thank you so much, Cynthia, for the $20 contribution. Thank you so much, Brian. Again, this is going back to yesterday for the $2.50. Thank you, Roxanne C, for the $5. Really hope everything's going well with your situation. Thank you, Victoria. I'm going to say Victoria SB for the $50 contribution. Hugely substantial contribution yesterday by Victoria. Thank you so much. Very much appreciated. And then Damon and Brian and Peter over the last couple days. Very much appreciate you and everything that you guys do for this channel. Let's see if we can hop over to YouTube, see if anybody was kind enough to donate over here on the YouTube side of things. Let me get out of here. How do I get out of this? Get this out of here. Was there any? I'm not sure if there was any, but if it was, I can't see that. I don't know. For some reason, I can't see any of the contributions. Why is that? That's weird. Maybe I just didn't get any. but I thought I saw something go by. It's the first time, yeah, because I see Slacks here. I see Slacks. Slacks says, Slacks sent in 10. Slacks. You fucking you. Slack sent in a 10, says, love you, brother. Love to all my fellow Bryantologists. If the Democrats don't take advantage of all the crap this regime is putting out there, they are going to be very unhappy, and that is saying it mildly. So my apologies again. If anybody else sent in a super chat or hit a milestone throughout the show, it just doesn't want to show me today. I'll see maybe if it pops up. Sometimes it pops up the next show that we do. It'll still be on there from the last show. So my apologies for that. If anybody else besides Slacks that went in, and maybe it was just a slow day. Maybe I'm just being a dickhead and I'm thinking that I should get more than I actually deserve. You know what I mean? That could be an option as well. But thank you so much to Slacks. And again, everybody else, in case I'm missing anybody, a big salute, big shout out to you guys. W's in the chat for everybody contributing. My apologies. Like I said, it's strange because I don't even see, typically it'll say, at least where Slacks put it in there, it'll say 1, you know what I mean? And I don't even see that. We sent in super chats. I know, Rach. I know I saw a bunch in there. Let me see if I can go back. No, see, it doesn't let me go back that far in the chat. Oh, I see one here from JD. JD says, Slava Ukraini. Thank you so much to JD. Tiff says there are a bunch in chat today. Yeah, that's what I thought, Tiff. That's what I thought. My fault. I see Kyle Jacobson, so I'll have to just scroll through. So we'll do it the difficult way, all right? I'll fight through it if you guys are willing to fight through it with me, all right? So my apologies for having to do it the difficult way, but for some reason, YouTube just doesn't want to show me these things at this point in time. I'm not sure. So thank you so much to JD, Kyle Jacobson. Thank you to Slacks. Let me see. I'll continue to scroll until I hit another one. Gonna have to keep your attention until I hit another one. You know what I mean? This is just a whack way of having to do this, but you know what I mean? I'll fight through it with you guys. Thank you, Jimmy Two Soups. Should I change my name to Jimmy Two Barnacles? No, don't get too carried away. I like the Jimmy Two Soups. I really do. I enjoyed it the first time I saw it, and I've enjoyed it every time since. But I do appreciate the sentiment. I do appreciate the offer there, but much appreciated, Jimmy Two Soups. And no, I'm just having to scroll through the entirety of the live stream chat. I don't see them anywhere. I really don't. They're not showing up anywhere. I'm just literally scrolling through the entirety of today's live stream chat to see if there's anything highlighted. Because, again, I don't want you guys to send in a super chat. Thank you so much to Brian. I see this one. Are you on Thursday regularly? Again, folks, the oligarchs are paying misfits and criminals for their racist army. Let's go to the streets. I'm right behind you, Brian. Absolutely. I'm right there with you. Get loud, get proud, stay fucking aggressive. Get your ass out of that seat and into the streets because we're definitely not pissed off enough. As I always say, you guys know it. And, yes, I'm on Thursdays regularly, Brian. Thank you so much for that. And, again, my apologies for not being able to do this the quick way. Rachel, I see yours, Rachel. IRRC, Tim is a quarter Korean, racist, self-loathing. IRRC, Tim is a quarter. Who's Tim? Who am I missing? What portion of the show is that? My apologies, Rach, but I'm sure you're spot on as usual. And thank you, as always, for your contributions to the channel. Like I said, I did respond to the email that you had sent out too. So sorry that I was a little late responding on that one. But thank you so much for the contribution. And like I said, my apologies for not being able to quickly pinpoint the portion of the show that we were discussing as far as that was concerned. And again, I'm scrolling. We're trying to find everybody that was nice today. Here's another one from Rachel. We owe Connor Lamb an apology. Should have been him. Thank you so much, Rachel, for the $2 contribution. Much appreciated for everything that you do for this channel. Let's see here. Gonna keep scrolling. Another one from Rachel. Let's go. I can't unsee what those Wagner guys did in Mali. Yes. Again, another huge aspect of the atrocities, kind of perpetrated throughout the world by the Russians. And again, accurately pointed out here by Rachel that you can't unsee what the Wagner guys did in Mali. In case you're not up to speed on what was taking place there, just Google Wagner Mali, and again, you'll be unfortunately updated on that. So thank you, Rachel, and thank you for the contribution and obviously the insight as to that is concerned. Let's see here. I'm going to keep scrolling. Christ, we're going to be here all fucking night, but I don't mind it. You guys deserve it. There's Slacks. Was Slacks the first one? So maybe I got through them. All. I'm not sure. Again, like I said, usually it gives me more information here on my side, but for some reason, either StreamYard or YouTube's having an old heart attack today. Having a big old fucking heart attack there, kid. What are you going to do there, kid? Huh? Having a little fucking stroke, having a little seizure?
It's the happiest seizure ever.
Who can tell me what movie that is? Oh, big points in the chat if you can tell me what movie that is.
Oh, that's a technical foul. She's a nice lady, Stone.
Sorry, I'm just trying to hold your attention as I scroll through the entirety of today's live chat so I can thank anybody that was nice enough to contribute to the show, since I'm doing this like it's 1983, apparently. You know what I mean? They can't just put this all together and make it easy for me. I'm gonna have to sit here and get fucking carpal tunnel of the wrist scrolling through the entirety of the chat. But I think I'm back to the beginning. I don't think I missed any. Did I see one more at the end? For crying out loud. I think I saw one at the end too. Was it Jim? Yeah, it was Jim. I knew I saw one. Thank you, Jim, for the one gifted membership. Sorry for the screwed up ending, but like I said, I try to do as much as possible to try to thank you guys, show how much I appreciate your contributions at the end of every single show. And I just didn't want to leave anybody out. My apologies if I missed anybody. Like I said, hopefully when I reopen StreamYard, typically the super chats from last show will be there still. So hopefully I'll be able to either take a picture in case anybody that I missed. And yes, who got 8 crazy nights? You sons of bitches. You sons of bitches. I thought I was going to get one over on you. I couldn't get one over. Rox got it. Fucking Tiff got it. Yakov got it. God damn it. I thought I was going to get one that you guys didn't know. You know what I mean? But I should know better. There's always people in the chat that are more intelligent and more up to speed on everything. You know what I mean? So that's why I love you guys. That's why I appreciate you guys. You guys keep me on the right path. And again, I'm human. I make mistakes. Again, any mistakes that I recognize, I typically try to fix, try to make better. And again, anybody in the chat that can. Well, I'm always going to the chat, right? I'm always asking you guys to correct me if I'm wrong, right? How many times do I say that during the show? You know, this is what I suspect. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. That way I can actually get it right. So, like I said, I love you guys in the chat. I appreciate you guys in the chat. And yes, everybody that just got that right. And again, the mods just goes to show that I have the best mods. It was the mods that got it. So definitely it was picking accurately as far as the mods were concerned on that one. But yeah, I love you. I appreciate you. I'll see you tomorrow for the Friday show. Thank you guys so much. I think we're getting better at this. Like I said, I know this is, still going to be a long slog. We still got a long way to go to try to enter into the zeitgeist of political commentators on the left. Again, I am under no illusions. I'm not big-headed. I'm not, conceited to the point where I think we're like the shit or the biggest and the baddest, or why isn't everybody subscribing to my channel? No, I know I'm not for everybody. I know I'm, an acquired taste, let's just say. So I just want to thank everybody once again for being here in this community, being a part of this movement that we've created here, and then obviously contributing not only to the channel, but to all of the different fundraisers. Like I said, everybody that's gotten one of Tom's Stand With Ukraine sunflower shirts to go help the Mr. Dobra, the one of the biggest orphanages in Ukraine, obviously helps animals and elderly as well. Hopefully, sometime in the near future, I'll be able to talk to Marta, who runs, I believe, the Misto Dobra. I know I've been slacking a little bit on, correspondence and responses, but I'll have to get back up to speed on that. It's just there's so much bullshit that comes through emails. Like all of these different platforms now send you like notifications when somebody likes something. Like I love it. I appreciate you guys but I don't need like 1.5 billion notifications in my email. Right. You can put that in YouTube and I'll go over there and I'll like it and I'll say thank you and I'll put the heart on it. But as far as like an email for all of the things, like it's unnecessary. And sometimes it's overwhelming and I get anxiety just even looking the amount of emails that I have. And I'm sure at some point you guys can relate. But all right, I'm rambling. I'm taking up too much time. I love you. I appreciate you. Stay loud, stay proud, stay aggressive. Get the fuck out of your seats and into the streets, people. We are surely not fucking angry enough in this country. So, all right, I'll see you tomorrow. Friday show, 2 p.m. here on the East Coast. That's 11 a.m. on the West Coast. And again, we'll see what craziness we have to talk about. We'll see what happens between now and then. I'm sure there'll be no shortage of stories to dig into or propagandists to call out. So that's what we try to do here at the Little Political Podcast that could. Someday that's going to get easy to say. Definitely doesn't get easier this week. But thank you. My name's Brian. This is Blunt Politics. I appreciate you for joining me. Head over to bostonbrian.com. Great merch and definitely all of the information you need to follow this account. So thank you. I appreciate you. I love you. I respect you. My name's Brian. I'm out of here. I think it's one of these. Oh, whoa. Not so fast. Not so fast. Jesus Christ. I almost had to come back again there. Rachel caught me at the last second. My Ukrainian cat turned 6 this week. Let's fucking go. What's that cat's name? Wish them a happy birthday for me. I'm not sure if you specified, but thank you so much for letting us know. Happy birthday to the pretty kitty, and thank you so much for letting us know. And then thank you so much for the contribution as well. Is it a specific breed of Ukrainian cat, or is it just a cat that you got in Ukraine? Russia. Well, fucking, there's an ironic name. I didn't see that one coming. No, but I get what you're saying. But like I said, was it a cat that you just got in Ukraine, or is it like a breed specifically kind of, related to Ukraine? I'm going to stick here until you answer me. She's a street cat that I found in Kharkiv. Okay, I gotcha. I wasn't sure if there was like they had their own specific breed or anything like that they're famous for that I didn't know about. But happy birthday to Russia. I very much appreciate you for letting us know. And then obviously everything that you're responsible for and helping us in this channel. Thank you to Yvonne, for all of the emails that you send to this channel. W's in the chat for Yvonne. Thank you so much to Alyosha for everything that you do over there on Twitch. Thank you to Andrea for sharing the show out. Thank you to Yakov and all of the other mods for everything that you do. I could sit here all day and thank you guys. I really could. We could do an 8-hour stream of me just showing my gratitude and appreciation for you guys. I don't know if that would really hit well with the algorithm, but I could do it. I could fucking do it. Don't tempt me. Don't you fucking tempt me. All right, I'm out of here. Thank you guys. Hats off to you guys. Much appreciated. And I'll see you tomorrow. Please make sure if you can't donate to the Help 99 campaign, the Summer of Drones campaign that we have going on, just share it out. That would be just as beneficial, just a substantial help as, again, coming out of pocket with $1, $5, $10, anything that you can do. We're at 75%, 25% of the way to go. And again, I am salivating at the mouth to be able to get over to Ukraine again, to hand over this vehicle, to bring you guys the news, the stories, talk to people on the ground, whatever I can do. And again, it's only with your help and you guys, boosting up this channel and the algorithm that we're going to be able to do a lot of those things. And again, not just Ukraine, but I'd love to be able to go around this country and bring you guys the news wherever it happens, be on the ground at Delaney, be on the ground in Minneapolis, be on the ground in Vermont, wherever it could happen. I'd like to be able the financial freedom at some point, hopefully, to be able to make those decisions. And that's only if you guys see value and benefit in me doing that coverage. So again, reality will tell the difference. And it's only, like I said, it remains to be seen. If the world wants me to get to that point, then I will get to that point, but I'm not going to give up. I'm going to be here every single day, besides Saturday and Monday, of course, giving you guys the news, giving you guys my opinion. So much appreciated. Like I said, the old Midwestern goodbye today, as opposed to the Irish exit, which I'm normally known for. But all right, I appreciate you guys. Thank you, Cats and Jam. Thank you, Rachel. Much appreciated. Well, you got one from Kyrgyzstan as well? Jesus Christ. What do you just go to different countries to pick up stray cats? I mean, I guess that's one way to travel the world, right? I wouldn't mind seeing the world. I just don't know. Like, people like pick up dirt and soil and sand. Like, you've probably seen it in Band of Brothers and, other, World War II documentaries of different soldiers picking up the dirt and the sand and the soil from different theaters of war that they were in. Is that what Rachel does with cats? She just goes to all these fantastic countries and takes a cat from each one of them. She's just got a house full of European cats. No, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you to Barnacle Bill. What a great name. I don't know if that's changed specifically for the Barnacles here, but that works. That plays, Barnacle, because that's what we call everybody that sticks around to the end of the show. So, Married to a Maggot. Thank you, Dame. Much appreciated to you guys. Thank you, Samuel. Thank you to Barnacle Bill again. Thank you to Tiff. Adam, good to see you, my friend. My three-tailed Ukrainian cat's name is Chernobyl Jolly. Jesus. Oh, Adam, we appreciate you, brother. We hope that, things turn around. We hope the luck or the lack thereof that you've been seeing lately turns around. But just let you know, we do love you. We do appreciate you, and we're behind you all the way. And we very much appreciate you being here in the chat when I know it's probably not easy to do so for you. So much appreciated, Adam. Thank you, Colleen. Thank you, Laurie, for everything that you've done for this channel as well. Like I said, I'm probably running out of people to thank. There's probably not many people still watching at this point. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Cats and Jam. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Orb Vruma. Let's fucking go, Dockley Yours, Ghost Dog TV. I could sit here and just say thank you to you guys all day. I really could. I appreciate you. All right, I'm out of here before I waste all your time. I'm out. Glory to Cats. Glory to Cats. Glory to Cats is fan-fucking-tastic. Thank you, Ghost Dog. I appreciate you. And I hope to see you guys tomorrow. Make sure you hit the notification. Again, if you can't remember when the show is, hit that notification. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And that should, if everything goes smoothly and according to plan, it should let you know when I go live or when I put out videos or any shorts or anything like that. All right. So big salute to you guys. Sorry for running over a little bit today, but we always have some fun together. All right. So fuck Donald Trump, Chinga la migra, Slava Ukraine, fuck Vladimir Putin. What else can we add in there? Probably a lot of things, but again, would be here all night. All right, I'm out of here. Love you guys. Absolutely, Olga. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. Anybody that sticks around to the end of the show, every show is part of that group. And, you know, no lie, I did steal this idea from How Ridiculous, the Australian boys, who like weird, cool videos that they got. They call the people that stick around to the end of their videos the 44 Club. I just figured you guys were deserving of the title as well. Like I said, it's simply the Ukraine coverage, or something along the foreign policy lines that we cover at the end of the show. Typically, the viewership does drop off. I just want to be able to reward and thank how much I appreciate the people that do stick around and watch the full coverage. That's what that is. I'll let you guys come up with that one. We got the Lobsters, we got the Barnacles. You guys are gonna be fucking. You guys are gonna be You guys are gonna be shelfing by the end of this venture.
Вітаю, Бостон Брайан. Мій позивний танцор. Я представник 72-ї бригади. Дякую тобі і твоїм підписникам за цей донат, за цю чудову машину, яка буде нас возити усіх на позиції, захищати Україну і наближати перемогу. Разом усі до перемоги. Дякую.
Absolutely be pragmatic. Whether you're watching, listening, got it on in the background, if you're contributing somehow with the viewership, if you're here, you're participating, or again, like I said, you're just listening in the background, I appreciate you guys all the same. I really, really do. So absolutely be pragmatic. You're in that group. Appreciate you, Wes. Thank you, brother. Thank you, Big Jerry. Smoking point. What's happening? What's going on? Good to see you. What, so we had the best outro song in the game? Right? Best outro song in the game. So if that doesn't, if that doesn't require, or at least is worth a subscription, I don't know what is. But as everybody else calls them, they call them.
Вітаю, Бостон Брайан. Мій позивний танцор. Я представник 72-ї бригади. Дякую тобі і твоїм підписникам за цей донат, за цю чудову машину, яка буде нас возити усіх на позиції, захищати Україну і наближати перемогу. Разом усі до перемоги. Дякую.
For miners, do we love miners? I love miners. We're inviting Americans from all across the country to come.
Here's a thought. Grow a sack, fill it with some balls.
God bless the United States.
Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen.
The kidney has a very special place in the heart. It's an incredible thing. It's a new form of vicious violation to our country. To officially name the undisputed, when did this come out? Somebody said, is that a Trump statement or is that real? The water coming here is dead. The water coming here is dead. They're just getting acclimated. You know what that means? The water coming here is dead.
He says, wrecked him, damn near killed him.
We are a nation that just recently heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will refer to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small.
Вітаю, Бостон Брайан. Мій позивний танцор. Я представник 72-ї бригади. Дякую тобі і твоїм підписникам за цей донат, за цю чудову машину, яка буде нас возити усіх на позиції, захищати Україну і наближати перемогу. Разом усі до перемоги. Дякую.
And I'll admit, the guy, he's taller than me, he's like 6'2", which is why I don't understand why his hands are the size of someone who's 5'2".
For the rest of my life, I have the curse that I have little hands. Little hands.
Hey, you got a little chubby going there.
Taking it back to Nevada where he's wanted for banging horses.
We appreciate those camels. I haven't seen camels like that in a long time.
Is there anything worse than white people? White people are a mortal danger to you and your loved ones.
Go fuck yourself.
Tell the director to call the White House. Do your fucking job!
It feels so lovely to be here tonight. What a beautiful life. Give yourself a round of applause. You're so lovely. Everyone's so lovely.
Call them dumps. Big, massive dumps.
No, get those lights off. Off. Turn them off. They're too bright. Turn them off. Gettysburg, what an unbelievable battle that was. The Battle of Gettysburg, what an unbelievable. I mean, it was so much and so interesting and so vicious and horrible and.
Man, I ain't falling for no banana in my tailpipe.
Вітаю, Бостон Брайан. Мій позивний танцор. Я представник 72-ї бригади. Дякую тобі і твоїм підписникам за цей донат, за цю чудову машину, яка буде нас возити усіх на позиції, захищати Україну і наближати перемогу. Разом усі до перемоги. Дякую.
The big, fat, sloppy United States.